Apologies, y'all. Seems to be taking forever these days, and the most lethargic of elements is our boys who have Facebook. Shoot. All right, so welcome to the show, y'all. It is Friday evening. It is the 26th of November, the year 2021. Um, I hope everyone enjoyed their festivities yesterday, Thanksgiving, the day of thanks, the day where people come together to eat food and most respectively to watch football. So I'm hoping everyone is well, enjoyed their meal, enjoyed one another. Um, as I'm watching, come on, y'all. Everything seems to be delayed. I swear to goodness. Not one thing's another. It seems to be, okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't mean to be. It seems to be taking up all the space and time, and it don't need to. Oh goodness. So, as we are slowly but surely moving around, I want to make sure that we all in a comfortable setting, because most importantly, right now, as we are surviving, I would guess say, um, Black Friday, infamous day where people assume that you'll get the best deals in this year, and all things dealing with the deals. But before I go to that, I want to make sure I give you guys a quick overview of some of the topics that we're going to talk about today on the show. Some of the things that we'll probably just speak about a little bit, but we'll touch up on some other things later on. Let me see how this looks this way. Let me take this off. Let me see. Okay, cool. Tonight's topics, we'll talk about a little bit about Ahmaud Arbery versus Kyle Rittenhouse, or the actual issue that ended up with Kyle Rittenhouse being exonerated, which is the killing of Jacob Blake, 7 times in his back by white officers, and that officer is still free today. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about the holiday weather. The weather, as I said last week, seems to be a little bit of an issue that we should be taking care of, or should be concerned about, because it's sneaking up on us. The National Weather Board are basically saying that next week should be cold. This week coming in, we should see some cold weather. However, there's some other reports suggesting that we could be in a little bit of a heat wave. So either which way is something that we need to look at. Black Friday, of course, we talk about retailers and knowing what we do about retail and the way the actual truth behind retail, price fixing. Uh, are we finding deals? Are we really finding deals? Or are we just swept up in the whole tradition of it? So let's talk about this a little bit about that. Please share with us your opinions of what it is. We'd like to hear some funny stories here and there. I'll share a few of my own. Also, Congress co-signed the Build Back Better bill. It is Joe Biden's greatest task at this point in time, and we want to know, or we're still trying to find out what it actually has in store for us as regular human beings, regular Americans. What is it to look for? What's involving? So we might talk a little bit about this and that when it comes to that. Sports, of course, is the holiday season where everybody watches sports. So I don't know if you're paying attention, but in NBA, LeBron James, LBK, the king of LA, was suspended for clawing gentleman in Detroit Pistons. Got into a big old scuffle, and one got cut, and both of them got suspended. LeBron, first time in 13 years getting suspended. First time getting caught up in a situation like that. First time. Is this the end of the GOAT? Or is this just the foretelling of what's coming back to the NBA, given all the changes in the rules? Um, we're also going to talk a little bit about NFL, if you're interested. Tom Brady, considered the GOAT by many, but given all these new up-and-coming quarterbacks and the amazing um, showing these quarterbacks are having. Is his GOAT title at risk? Um, it's maybe a little early for something, but this could be, depending on how things go down the line. And then we'll talk about the holidays, DAZE. As we've finished enjoying the Thanksgiving, I'm still trying to transition with this concept of Thanksgiving. So forgive me. The food dishes that you're grateful for. We're talking about the food itself. Of course, we're all very grateful to be around loved ones, and we're very grateful to be in the position that we are for those that were in the position to be able to share time with what others. We are slowly creeping into the other holiday, which is most important to a lot of people, which is Christmas or the other holiday season. So, just asking, what was your favorite dish? And what wasn't your favorite dish? What did you pass and say, no, thank you this time, you know? So these are just some of the topics that we're talking about, but we'll talk about a whole lot more moving forward. So we just want to pay attention to how things are going, and I'm hoping everyone is well. As I said, the holidays are some time frame where people get to really enjoy being around your loved ones. The unfortunate truth is that some of our family members out here are still mourning the passing of their beloved loved ones, and we send our heart and prayer to everyone out there who may be dealing with that emotion at this point in time. And for those of you that are just not necessarily feeling that good, I want you to try to do the best that you can to push through, because ultimately there is sunshine at the end of the tunnel. That's at least what I've been told. Well, let's hope that sunshine or that light that we see at the end of the tunnel isn't a train coming at us. So, let's talk a little bit about the COVID cases. Just recently, you hear a lot of discussion about how COVID here in New Jersey has basically met a little bit of we've hit the turn, so to speak. As they said, our numbers haven't increased drastically. However, because yesterday was a holiday or time frame where many people have traveled many miles to return back home. Those who are at school return back home. So many people come from different origins, come into your home or to their original place of being. And so some may be basically carrying the COVID-19 SARS virus with them. So it's maybe a little soon to say whether we're clearing this issue. But, however, it is a time of concern. Please, 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 please pay attention of what you're doing, where you are, and the people around. Remember, try to do the best you can to still adhere to the 6 feet and washing your hands and coughing away from anyone, making sure your face is covered as many times as wherever you possibly can for those that can and will. And ultimately, throughout all this stuff, remember, vaccination could be the best option for you during this point in time. I'm not pushing anyone to be vaccinated. However, I will say that I am vaccinated and my family's vaccinated, and it's extremely important to continue. It's not only a concern for you and your health, but should be a concern about the people that you love in your life, whether you are vaccinated or not. More and more information is coming in, and we're starting to see reports are being put together about the long-term effects of vaccinations. As you just recently seen, vaccination approval has been given for children. There's been two. I think it's the age of 5 through 8, and then 8 through 12. I think those are about the same age brackets, if I'm not mistaken. For those, if you're out there watching, you may know. Can you please share with us exactly those age brackets that they may be available? We heard about a recent case where a pharmacy, local community pharmacy, made a mistake and gave a young child the dosage that was regularly that was made and approved for an older youth. So there's a concern whether how that child will respond to that vaccine. We're hoping that nothing comes about other than they're surviving it and doing very, very well. In other health news in South Jersey, we're starting to see an increase of hand, mouth, and foot disease. Hand, mouth, and foot disease sounds crazy as hell, and for some amazing reality is it's been affecting a lot more children than we've seen in decades before. For those who may not know, hand, mouth, and foot disease, some of the symptoms involved is you'll see on your child little red dots in the palm of their hands. That's where the hand. On the bottom of the foot, that's where the foot. And inside the mouth where the gums are, you'll see red dots. So those are signs. There's swelling, fevers. Of course, it's uncomfortable. It's swelling in the orifice around the mouth and down the esophagus. So it makes it very difficult for children to swallow and or eat. So they go through a lot of agonizing pain. It's really uncomfortable for children. And again, this, I will say this loudly, it is highly contagious. Highly contagious. My son himself um, contracted it twice in a year. Oddly enough, one in an atmosphere that we thought was safe, in a school setting that we thought they were adhering to everything, but I guess it was the first time they heard of it, and it took to school. And then after that, some weeks later, he contracted it at a water park in Wildwood around children. So it's one of those type of things you have to be very cautious for, along with every other illness that may be affecting the community and or the world today. Influenza is still a concern, so that's why people are being offered the flu shot. It's extremely important that you do the best you can to keep yourself at the peak level of health, so you can fight anything, any cooties that's coming your way, and especially the kids and our senior citizens. Our seniors are those that are infirmed or ill. Um, we have to make sure we protect them. So the best that you possibly can is what you are required to do. So wash your hands, don't touch each other, don't put the nasty boogies on one another. Make sure your children are cared for properly, making sure their health is up. Remember, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin E, eating well, sleep is very important. Making sure you use soap and water when you're washing your hands. Um, the health is very concerning to do. You have to make sure drink as much possible if you can. Drink water to help flush the system out. For those that are into herbs, to help you fight things like, let's just say, golden seal, um, the, oh goodness, um, elderberry, things that are very good for you. Garlic, of course. You have sea moss. You have black seed oil, cold pressed black seed oil. Things that are just natural elements that help you. Um, I'm going to mention again something that was very popular in shows from before. If you can find mullein seeds or mullein leaf, actually, it's a very good natural element. It's a plant, the mullein flower and the mullein leaves. You can make tea from it. It helps extract any mucus out of your lungs and helps clear those mucus-filled lungs, and helps you breathe. Mullein is very easy to find. In addition to mullein, you have other factors like um, peppermint, natural peppermint. You drink peppermint, it helps to ease your body. Say if you're asthmatic or you're temperamental, you have a cough, and you really can't relax yourself. Natural, as natural if you possibly can. Pineapple juice or pineapple extracted directly from pineapple juice, extracted from a pineapple, has an anti-inflammatory, antifungal mucus effect which is oddly enough. If you ever did an experiment, put a piece of meat underneath some pineapples and see how it eats up. So it's a natural way of clearing out your system. It helps to take the phlegm. So it's anti-inflammatory. It helps to clean your lungs. So if you have issue with your lungs, do those things. Every natural option is something that we're going to constantly be promoting on the show and through one another. So it's extremely important that you do so. Let me drink some water. So we've talked before, great extent, about natural remedies and herbs. My family, we're very um, adamant of keeping elderberry in our home, and oxysilicum. Oxysilicum is that and elderberry are two things that you can get from your local pharmacy that helps fight any kind of illness, and natural homeopathic remedies that can help fight any inflammatory, any it helps to clean the system out, the blood, your urinary tract. It helps. It's an all-around feel-good kind of medicine. It doesn't have many side effects at all. I think there's barely any. It tastes like candy. But these are things that you can look into at your local pharmacy if you're looking forward to natural remedies. COVID-19 is something that, As we've said before, we don't see the end of COVID-19 anytime soon. It's the latest reports, USA Today and National World News, were basically talking about how the United States could be seeing the number of deaths reach a million deaths in March. This is when they're proposing their millionth death. If you keep that in mind and the duration of time that we've been under duress for this COVID-19, you'll see that this has been something that we've never, outside of never seen, but now we're preparing for what possibly could be around the corner. And that's the things that you really, really have to be careful for, because if you noticed, our immune systems have been weakened, whether it's from the manner and things that we do eat or ingest, the fact that more and more people are inhaling chemicals. You saw that people in tobacco were switching over to vapors or vaporizing. This is creating a whole new dilemma with the intensity of tobacco products going into your body and causing influx, causing issue, spreading germs a lot faster. So your body has been in attack for a long time. So don't you owe yourself a little bit better way to live life? So do what you can to return back to natural remedies. Do what you can to extract anything that's in your system naturally, and try to live as close to perfect as you possibly can. Those with tobacco issues, do what you can to get off of it. And it's really, really difficult, but there's enough satiation programs that can help you weed out the need of tobacco products, weed out caffeine, weed out nicotine. Those things, the systems are hard to find, hard to break. To some, it's actually the hardest addiction ever to break because they're long-term and long, and they become practical. Having conversation with my young son, we were talking about addictions, and one of the things I told him, I said, with people who are smokers, they have an addiction to have things in their hand. People who drink have an addiction of having something masking or that appeal to drink, and they use, as they call, non-alcoholic beer to help them go through, because there's a small percentage of chemicals in there that mask the sensation or create a sensation, like as if alcohol's filling your system, which it isn't. Does elderberry come in a pill form, asking syrup form, or can I get down? Actually, it comes in both. I've seen it in pill, I've seen it in raw powder, and I've seen syrup. I've seen it differently. Elderberry is actually getting put in everything these days if you look at it, because of the way the pandemic is. So if you go to Walmart, there's about at least 20 products that has elderberry, or you can go just elderberry. And elderberry, which is crazy. Not long ago, I just ran into a video that was talking about elderberry, and it showed the plant, and it's so readily found around on the road, off the sides of the roads. If you're driving in more less dense areas where you have more greenery, forests, and stuff like this, it grows on the side of the road. So take a look at it. Let me see if I can pop up what elderberry looks like. You'll be shocked how easily it appears that it is just readily available. And it's one of those type of things. And it's a reminder, my friends and I have been talking about this for a while, how there are so many different remedies that we should be readily accessing to, because the elderberry plant, here we go. We're surrounded by so many things that Mother Nature has given us, that we sort of forget what it looks like. So let me show you guys what it looks like. Share the screen, and I'm show you an image of what an elderberry plant looks like. This is blue elderberry. It's the Sambucus blue elderberry. Yep. Gummy form is definitely one that is very popular. Sambucus nigra. I don't know why they use terminology like that, but let's see. Let me go to all the pictures. This is the elderberry plant. If you look at it in different formats, you have different elderberry, and it's the plant itself grows This is the berry. It looked like blueberries. Um, and it grows in the wildest format. This is the one that's most popular. This is the sambucus, the blue elderberry sambucus. It's really pretty cool when you see the plant and when you notice how easily available it is to all of us. You probably start saying like, "Why do I go to Walmart and stuff like this?" But let me make sure I put this on. Yep, gummy form. I had to buy gummy forms because my wife doesn't like to take pills, right? Big pills. So she'll check out the gummies, and it was sitting there for a while. Them gummies, man, if y'all don't eat them, it turns into rocks after a while. So do what you can to stay abreast of things. But that's what the elderberry plant is. It's very helpful. That's the silicon comes from um, other ingredients. It's basically it's not as raw as you see the elderberry plant. But if you get more into plant life or green living, you get to see there's so many more remedies that we may know about in our backyards and our gardens, and it's things that we should be really considering, given the circumstances and our health concerns. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, for an example, um, what's the second one you mentioned? Oh, oscillocum. Oscillocum. Let me see if I can. It may be okay. I said it wrong. It's oscillocassinum. The hell? Um, yeah, it's a homeopathic medicine. I'm just going to be the brand. I'm not endorsing the brand, but I'm just endorsing what I'm seeing, what I use. Um, Hoping I don't get attacked by anybody later on. But let me give you an idea of this. It's homeopathic medicine. It's something that was told to me early on. Use this with the sambucus, and it's like the one-two punch that can help you and your body stay very healthy. It works really, really well, and it's small little doses that you can put underneath your tongue. Boiron is the name of the company that creates this. It's homeopathic medicine. So you have Boiron. Um, let me see if I can show you the Oscillocum, the other brand, because when you talk about elderberry, there was I guess not. Okay. Anyway, this is the other brand that I use, Sambucol. So these are the two, black elderberry and Oscillocum that's kept. Let me tell you, this is the how to get to thing in my home, when trying to make sure you stay healthy. And because it's homeopathic, anybody who has blood issues or high blood pressure, it tells you there's no effect on you whatsoever. So it's one of those type of things that's a pretty good thing. It's to look at. It's one less than 1 gram of sugar per tablet. It goes underneath your tongue. It helps with all these things. Anytime I felt any kind of concern, just like 2 nights ago, my sinuses were, I guess, irritated, and I had a little bit of swelling. So I felt a little bit of fever come on. Not enough that it really knocked me out, but that morning I woke up kind of dizzy. Well, that night I took the Symbicol and I took Oscillocum. Very next morning I woke up with my sinuses less swollen. I didn't do much about it because I really was trying to self-diagnose what I needed to do. I took that, woke up feeling fine. My sinuses weren't as swollen. I'm comfortable, wasn't dizzy, felt a little bit. I slept better. So it's really helpful when you can find it, and you can pack it. It's one of the most popular items I know of in Walmart. I'll say that for that. Maybe because of the fact that it's so easy to take and it's not restrictive. So there's a disclosure form. It says claims based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated. This product is a homeopathic medicine and is not intended for immune support. It may not be intended, but I tell you what, it's helped me and mine, and I'm very appreciative to it. So the fact that there's something that you can take to keep us healthy, and let's just say it's done wonders. Really, in all actuality, it's done wonders for me because in the very beginning, I didn't take I wasn't vaccinated until deep into it. As March, April came on of 2020, and we were confirmed of COVID-19, how things were going on. I didn't take my vaccination until summer of 2021. So I was very adamant making sure that I was informed. So I did as much study as I possibly could, got into really looking into every aspect I could about the medicine and the vaccine and how things were going. And I was really concerned about how it would affect my body, but I eventually got vaccinated. But before me being vaccinated, I made sure that I took as many medicines as possible. And one of the things that I took was Sembicol, and the other thing was oscillocin. Anytime I felt some sort of concern, and it kept me healthy. Greetings to my brother Adrian. How are you this evening?
Not bad, man. Say no to drugs. And say no to drugs.
I hear, I hear
What's
you.
going on, babe?
Hey, man, just talking a little bit about our experiences dealing with the elderberry and oscillocum, two factors that I speak highly of from my own experience. But as you said, say no to drugs. If you don't need to take them, stay outside of them.
Just say no. You remember that statement many years ago? Just say no.
Heck yeah! I mean, if the best, I guess, the best remedy is to keep your ass away from human beings. Period.
But look, look at the contrast. Because years ago, the government was telling you to say no to drugs. Now they're telling you to take the vaccine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How ironic.
Yep. See. Yep. May of this year. Yep. Well, there's a lot of people. It took us a while, first off, to really start. I guess it's how they rolled out. There was so much distrust in the system, not being familiar with it.
I was on board that. I'm not going to deny. I was one of those individuals.
Exactly. So,
but I mean, common sense comes into play. I have a lot of friends of mine who are still not vaccinated. They don't plan on being vaccinated. They don't care and give a damn about being vaccinated. They couldn't care how many COVIDs, booster shots are there out there, how much money. They're not going to do it.
It's amazing. I've never really considered how many people are still just won't be vaccinated. I mean, it's opened my eyes. More and more conversation goes on. The more you see how many people.
Well, that number is going back up again because they talk about nationwide about 92,000 people. Now we're at over 780,000 people have passed away from COVID.
Yeah,
but that's not even considering all of the other factors, the other people, the things like cancer and diabetes and all of these things that people may have passed away from.
Yeah. I mean, on top of all the other goodies that we've seen on the national health, it's just probably that was the most sudden. It was the most widely understood because it was being shoveled around to us all the way around. And we went to overload for a while. They were starting to develop a whole new mental health issue dealing with this. Even the concern about the mask, developed mask face. There was a lot of things that we just started to stumble onto now. And it's crazy how far we've gone.
With the mask, let me challenge that for a second. Batman wore a mask back then, and everybody wanted to be Batman. So now you have that opportunity.
I guess the only difference was the mask. That mask was only covering the eyes, not the mouth.
Now you just got to move it down a bit. You know what I'm saying?
It's not like it needed to, because 90% of the people were wearing underneath their chin anyway. They weren't. Still to this day, people that have to wear masks, they're not really wearing a mask. It's on their face somehow, dangling off the ear. But it is what it is.
But the thing about it is, when a lot of people get on flights and they start acting a fool, and then people start videotaping them, it shows how ignorant and asinine these people really are.
Oh man,
you walk into the airport, you have the mask on. You go through TSA, you have the mask on, but when you get on the plane, you're going to take it off, and like this young lady says, I'm allergic to masks. What the hell are you doing on the plane? What the hell are you doing up inside of here?
Yeah.
You should be catching a cab or something.
Even with that, when they can say they're allergic to masks, there's other alternatives to the mask over the top of the face, the whole face shield. I've seen some great ones. But it's just like you said, man, we have to adapt in different ways. For you not to adapt basically means that you're not awake. You've been asleep for about a year and a half. Just can't go nowhere without seeing somebody in a mask. Why not be you, right?
Exactly. I mean, now they're talking about this new variant. That's something else that's on the rise, coming up out of South Africa now.
Yeah, another one. It wasn't the move. Which now it's
the Omicronic or something like that. Oh,
Omicron.
something. Yeah.
It sounds like another. Yes, it's another transformer coming out of South Africa. That's what it is.
It's crazy, man. It's just nutty.
It is, but it's again, it's one of those type of stuff. And you notice how all the variants are coming from highly dense communities area, where you have people who are populated and melanated. So these are concerns that we need to have as people of color all over the world. If it's coming from area that a lot of us look like us, be concerned.
Yeah, but also you remember, COVID came from China.
According to Trump, right?
Well, according to that lab too. You know what I'm saying? According to that fish market, you know. And so it is what it is.
Until we can get a full report, I don't trust it. They can say Wuhan all they want to. It could have been made. It could have been made in Pleasantville, New Jersey. You never know.
It could have been made in Atlantic City too.
It may have.
You're a councilman up in there. You should have known this.
Yeah, right. Should have been part of the launching all that damn smoke up in the cast and everything. But that's more and more we have to deal with.
They still don't want to get rid of the smoking in the casinos. In Atlantic City. I don't get it. I just don't understand.
It's always the same thing, man. It's always they rather support people's habits so they can feed off the habits. You know what I mean? So that's why they have no windows. That's why they're free alcohol. And that's why you have bells and whistles and stuff like that, because they want you to be in a trance. So you keep
they want you out of your elements, totally out of your comfort zone. That's what it was designed to do.
Yeah. But that's how gaming is, unfortunately. But we'll see if we can get some accord, some sort of remnants. What I saw the other day, speaking about gaming, I was finding something kind of interesting. I was going into Philadelphia, coming off the Walt Whitman Bridge, and there's a big ass sign there talking about Philadelphia Live, and they were trying to say it's the livest casino in the East Coast right now. And I'm riding by and it looked dead as hell. I'm thinking to myself, who the hell made this?
No, that's a fabrication.
we know it's always a marketing
fabrication. I've been to a few casinos outside of Atlantic City, and that's a fabrication.
It's always a marketing tool. That's like used to, but really sort of messed with me a little bit was when the CRDA, Casino Redevelopment Authority, put all this money together to promote Atlantic City, and the only thing they can come in is the best. What was it? The best entertainment at the shore.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's it? Best entertainment at the shore? We went from America's playground to now being the best entertainment at the shore.
See, one thing that they're actually missing is that, they have to realize that they're part of a community. So the casinos are not an island unto themselves. And until each casino and each one of them could actually all come together, advertise not only the casinos, but also advertise the city, they're not going to make it.
In the whole, right? Exactly.
Yeah, you have to advertise the entire city. The beach, the boardwalk, the lighthouse. All of these things. They have to do all of these things. Other than that, they're just whistling Dixie.
We were talking about that in a few marketing meetings, talking about potential marketing for the future, how to promote the city. And it's like any other tourist town. You have to include the entire town,
correct,
to flourish. Because as long as you keep excluding the residents, which are the foundation of the workforce for the industry that's being spearheaded at that point in time, when you exclude them, they will return and save that same energy. We won't care. You have crime out in the streets. Oh well, y'all don't care about us. Why should we care about you? You'll have all kinds of influx of resources that'll be cut. So it's just cutting your nose off to spite your face, toward us.
Exactly.
It makes no sense,
None at all.
We're hoping that this industry will return back to playing a bigger part of civic duty when it comes to Atlantic City. And I think the creation of the CRDA has sort of created even more of a distance between the casinos and the residents or the city itself, because they're saying, well, since all this money is getting paid off to this agency, let them handle it. And all I keep thinking is like the super wealthy Caucasian world always hires someone of color to be their resource officer to deal with equal opportunity employment or having to do with any issues with the community. Anytime you see a large corporation, they'll hire somebody of color to go speak to communities of color as if that's going to be the best bridge towards being a better relationship. And it leaves me always looking like, hey, they go trying to hire somebody to quiet everybody down instead of just playing a bigger part of the community. Play a bigger part of the community. The community will love you. I remember years ago with the organization I was part of that I'm proud of being the legacy of the Stanton Holmes Village work team under the superb leadership of Virgie Jordan. She used to have she built a relationship with the Bally's Corporation at that time in Sands, and they would come in and be a part of every holiday event, and they gladly participated in the event. They brought the executives down, and they showed the community who interacted with the executives. The community was able to see the people in leadership, and they got to have a good relationship, and they built that relationship. That was a perfect example of the bridge that's missing now. That's the perfect example that we need to do. Have more involvement, corporate involvement in the communities, more involvement that way. And I think if we had that, we would see a better turnout. I think if we had their involvement in the infrastructure of schools, maybe they'd be better, or at least the infrastructure of the schools would be better. If more of the city was involved in the marketing aspect, could it span out and include more people? I think so.
It can span out and include more areas too.
Hell
Because
yeah.
just like I said, I mean, Atlantic City is an island, granted, but when the people come to Atlantic City, at times they end up in Ocean City, sometimes they end up in Brigantine. But all of these places have to get together and they have to network.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Show the beauty of the show. They got to get down like that.
Yeah. What's crazy? You just said something that reminded me. Watching there's a show that we watch sometimes, my son and I, these food shows, people that travel all over the place, and and there was this one talking about the tour, the Anthony Bourdain tour that he did for New Jersey. One of the spots that they talked about where they were highlighting was the food in Atlantic City. What they did was the show was supposed to be about Atlantic City, but all of a sudden the host traveled all the way up to Surf City, Long Beach Island, for an eatery up there. And all I kept thinking about, Atlantic City has not been given 100% attention of any show without it spawning out to another tourist town somewhere else throughout the state for some odd reason. But it's never reciprocated. If you ever see something about Wildwood, you don't see them come up the shore to Atlantic City. They stay in Wildwood. You hear some discussion about Ocean City, same concept. They love Ocean City. And Ocean City is a small town, a dry town. It has a nice little boardwalk. It's comfortable for those that like to go there, but it doesn't have the vivacious lifestyle or the offerings that Atlantic City has. It has more amusements now, but it doesn't have the wide variety of offerings that our Atlantic City boardwalk has. But we don't get the same type of attraction. And I still say the same thing. You don't see the type of marketing that Atlantic City should have nationwide. We have some lazy ass operators.
I don't see anything. You get up outside of here, you don't see anything about Atlantic City.
Nothing.
No, I know. It's ridiculous, to tell you the truth.
You'll see maybe the highlight of one casino, and that's it. But you don't see them highlighting Atlantic City.
Correct.
You'll see Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Oh, you see Vegas all over the place. I know.
Right. You'll see. I seen last one. I seen a video, a marketing commercial for some of the U.S. Virgin Islands. I saw that.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I saw
Paradise
Rico,
Island, Bahamas. Yeah.
right, Paradise Island, Bahamas. I've seen destinations like that. I've even seen Texas. I've seen California. I've seen a lot about California. And even though that's the entire state, that's still the location and not just a destination at the location. And it works successfully. New Jersey has a lot to learn from the world around. Either we have a pompous self-entitlement that seems to trickle over, and then we complain when other people don't agree on it. If we don't market ourselves, we can't assume everybody knows. And the only marketing you see is all the negative shit. You always see some negativity about New Jersey. You hear about the big hair '80s uh, great Italian personalities that come to Seaside Heights from New York and their interactions in North Jersey. You hear the washovers from Philadelphia, and everybody's from South Jersey would be or wants to be a Philly native or has been a Philly native, and they're just living over here because it's cheaper. That type of deal. But it's never enough marketing for New Jersey. Definitely not enough marketing for the shores. Definitely not enough marketing for Atlantic City. And it shows. If you market it properly, as I say, if you build it, they will come. If you market it, people will be curious about it. There's so many people that probably have not been here, and those that have been really haven't walked outside of the facilities much to really enjoy what we have to offer. Well, let's see what we can do to change it, right?
Exactly. Only time will tell, man.
Exactly. I know in the holidays, a lot of it, because I remember back in the day, our main thoroughfare used to be Atlantic Avenue, and it would be lit up from one side of the island to the other side of the island.
Correct.
All kinds of lights, all kinds of beautiful fanfare, you know what I mean? Really intricate things put up. And it was really cool. It give you a sense of holiday cheer. You don't see that shit now. You might see some holiday at the end of the boardwalk, and that's it. You don't see nothing else anywhere, and it's sad.
Man.
It's sad.
Atlantic City needs to turn a better corner.
Mm-hmm. We have to market ourselves. We can't keep depending. Yep. We market ourselves in a more festive arena. More people will come down to enjoy the festivities. But we also got to be a part of it. I think there's opportunities for a lot of us who may not be interested in it right now, but in the long term, it's more of a benefit for all of us. If all the small businesses in Atlantic City got together and created, or not just created, because there is one now, a small business chamber, the chamber, the Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce. Although they seem to navigate sometimes and exclude other businesses here and there, and have a certain sense of entitlement. They have a certain sense of entitlement that's, to me, it's a malarkey. But if small businesses got together like a collaborative, there's enough collaboration in this city, the impact that could be had could be immense. Because not only you become powerful, you also become very intelligent in your buying power, but the influences that it has. And you have so many small stores, and a lot of them are immigrant based, which is fine. But how we celebrate the holidays may be different, but the fact that we celebrate around the same time could actually be a great marketing tool for all of us.
Of course.
I think at times can also give us some exposure to one another and we become more talented.
Yeah, because I remember many years ago on the radio, I believe it was on the radio WTTH, where they would have certain business around the holidays, and every single week or day, whatever the case, they'll highlight a particular business. So they will actually do a broad advertisement, but they will highlight a particular business for people to go patronize.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. And they could do it in commercials also on TV, because up in the Heights in that area in Cherry Hill, at times some of those companies will tend to get together and everyone put their money into a bucket and advertise because everyone benefits.
Hell yeah. And
you get a card here, you go across to this business, you get a discount, you go to this business, you get a discount, and everybody makes money.
Yep. One of the things that I was talking about before, I said one of the things that we could possibly do if we were interested really would be to get into, I'm trying to see I have my man Naldi had made a statement and it's not coming in the comment section. It's on Facebook. He said the problem is that North Jersey and South Jersey are divided. People in Trenton only care about North Jersey. They only show South Jersey as a pit. Between us and Camden, here we go. It came in a little late. Between us and Camden, seems like we have no hope. Naldi, bro, I don't know if that's necessarily the case because we're only defined by what we allow. You know what I mean? So we only define what it is. It really depends on how we focus things. And if we worked on marketing ourselves, as you was talking about, certain elements that you can do, you have enough small businesses here that we can constantly support one another. And in doing so, it builds our opportunities for everybody. Oh, what I was trying to say is that I was trying to promote a shoppers initiative for people who support small businesses, and you're all part of an amalgamation, and you get a small percentage off as maybe the business owner towards property tax, or could be some sort of benefit by having it, right? But it also, what it does, it promotes to the people who buy into the program participation in going to like 5% off this place. They've never been to that place, so it gives them an incentive to go to that place. And you have a wide catalog of different options that may not be regularly available to the promoters of the casinos, but people who are interested in coming to the city, more of it, would actually get access to it. And that membership could give them a lot more leverage. Because it also.
Sorry, continue. No, I just want to point something out. Continue. I want to hear you out entirely.
Okay. So that initiative, or the Shoppers Initiative, could also become a database for information for marketing. So anybody who's interested like that, and people wanted to market a big event or a large collaborative event, say you have a summer bazaar, winter bazaar for small businesses, like, you have Cyber Monday and you have Small Business Tuesday type stuff like this, or a Saturday, I think it's Small Business Saturday. You could promote a large venue by having something like that and promote it all the way around. So, Nandi, I put in my hat, bro. That's why we need you as mayor. So I'm tired of these. Yeah, I hear you, man. I put in my hat, but I guess not enough people believed in it. So it's all good, man. I appreciate the love. But the initiative itself, it's a marketing plan, but also can tie into a financial benefit of the city, because if you have it as a buy-in shoppers option that also has a credit card, there's financial benefits for the people, the municipality, and the membership itself gives you access to so many other businesses and services throughout Atlantic City. It's like a win-win on all the way around. Then on the cards themselves, people can be highlighted. We can have our hometown heroes being identified on all the cards. The small people who make the biggest impact on our communities. They can be highlighted, a small story snippet. This is Mr. Jones. He lives here. He's such a hometown hero. He's done this and that. Let's salute Mr. Jones on the card. It'll be stuff like that. Or an ongoing, how like you have MailChimp, you have that service that constantly sends you emails. This initiative could create a marketing plan that highlights the people, highlights the services, highlights the options, and gives people who are not readily into it, accessible to all these things, access. It's basically what we're doing here in the new norm, minus a few other elements. We can be the source of it. So you never know. We could be talking to the new norm players initiative coming up. We'll see. Or the visitors initiative. What you think, bro?
See, I give you the platform. I'll let you just, carry on. First and foremost, because a lot of businesses, like I said, during the holidays, and it goes into January, because then you have, white sales and some of these things come down in January.
Right.
A lot of businesses, you have the perfect platform to do so, because you're still a city representative. You have that platform. Mm-hmm. You can create that, and I've seen it, because it starts with the city. And when they know that the city is on board and a member of city council is on board, the other members will get on board. Mm-hmm. The other members, it only takes one, and that's it. One person, in the city council, one. Second of all, a lot of businesses, you have to remember, if these businesses fail, it shows Atlantic City also failing. Mm-hmm. Okay. And everybody, a lot of people, whether they like it or not, that's their paycheck. Mm-hmm. Because every business that closed is less amount of money, and it puts a hole in the wall. Case in point, look at 7-Eleven on Atlantic Avenue, Atlantic and South Carolina Avenue. It was a 7-Eleven there at one time.
Yeah.
It went straight through the cracks. That should have never happened. And there are more businesses identical to that. So every time a small business fails, Atlantic City fails, because it's losing more and more revenue.
Very much so. Very much so.
And city council and the mayor and all of these people need to be a part of promoting the small businesses, because that's the bedrock. That's the foundation. That's the foundation. Everybody wants to look at the big casinos and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a small mom and pop business that people like to visit. Forget about all the designer stuff. You're going to have Gucci, all of this stuff on the wall, But at the time, many times they're like, okay, where can I get some good food to eat around here? I'm sick of, I'm sick of eating here. I'm sick of eating there. Where can I find a good home cooked meal? Do you know any place where we could actually go?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an Afghanistan restaurant. Maybe a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't have that type of stuff in it, like a good home cooked meal inside a casino like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or the ethnicity of that particular type of business and food, outside of the casinos.
Mm-hmm.
So, I remember many years ago, you have to use creativity. And that's one thing with my business many years ago, I had a loyalty card that you will actually be able to gain points, and everybody comes in, they will gain points, and they will be able to get things for free down the pipe. That's what it's
Right.
about. It's called
Right.
loyalty. None of the nonsense that I've seen with some of these stores around here. I went to Store and ShopRite recently, and they're like, "Oh yeah, for the entire 12 months, you only spend $200." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" 12 months, I'm like, somebody was shaving points here, and that's just what I'm talking about. Is the principle of the matter. It's not just that situation; it's the principle of the matter.
Speaking speaking of ShopRite, how preposterous is you get a free turkey after spending $400?
You know the thing about that, Mo, because you could actually go somewhere else and you can spend $400 and get nothing. So they always say a little something is better than a big nothing.
To
You
to
know,
to some extent, I agree,
so
but if
so
if you're spending $400 in there, I
but
think you can find your
that's
own.
within a window. That's within a window because a lot of people, like I said, during COVID, had to go out and eat. They spend more time at home. They don't go to work. They work from home, so you end up having to shop and do a lot of buying for the house.
Mhm. Some people,
Yeah,
you got huge as Grubhub and DoorDash and what was that? Uber Eats.
yeah,
They were huge.
of course,
For
they
the
made out
500.
like bandit. They
Yep.
made out like a bandits, no doubt.
Yep.
Then you have the big conglomerate like Walmart. They're like, hey, look, we're gonna get into delivering food just like ShopRite.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then you have other stores that actually fail.
Yeah.
Like CVS. There's a CVS in Absecon. There's a sign on the door that this CVS is now permanently closed.
Yeah. Closed. And
Yeah,
you don't and CVS is a corporation that you wouldn't see close. You'd see them pop up and open up even more so.
they opened up a Target in Summers Point, but closed a CVS in Absecon.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you want to go to CVS, you're gonna have to either go to Pomona or you're gonna have to go to Pleasantville.
Yep. Well, it's a shame how we're not seeing how one thing trickles over and affects others when it comes to business and the way pandemic is. Quick shout out to Sheila. Sheila DeYoung just popped up on us. She's one of the family members here. She wasn't well for a while, then she
Yeah,
was hospitalized. So Sheila, I hope you're doing okay. Hope she was all right. Um, we were talking about a little bit about ShopRite. You mentioned before. We were the discussion in the background of ShopRite in the city is still questions like, yo, you're gonna get this supermarket, right? Hopefully. We still don't know to what extent. We still don't know what it is. I know they had a ceremony, groundbreaking ceremony about this whole
Mhm.
thing, where ShopRite will come in and for $1 a year, this is basically what the taxes they are, they're going to bring it into this town. There's a lot of hopes and dreams um, evolved in this whole concept of having ShopRite in a community. I'm not totally sold on the benefits of it. However, I think people feel it's better to have and not need than need and not have, like we have now. Although we do have a supermarket, it just doesn't give the level of quality that you may see regularly on ShopRite or other supermarkets outside. So we will see, but there's still a
Well,
discussion.
well, there goes the situation right there by itself because when you put a shop right over there, and then you have the other place eventually is going to take a whipping and they're going to be forced to close.
Possibly.
Yeah, because ShopRite gets, when the supermarket that's there now, I'm pretty sure that they didn't start off for the dollar or anything like that. They have to go in there, they have to pay, every single month, for the rent and all this kind of stuff. ShopRite is getting a good tax write-off, but then again, they're building it from the ground up.
They the ones that are operators of the supermarkets there in Renaissance, they don't pay taxes. They're in a perpetual um, plan, a program that was provided for them. But there's no taxes being paid by them right
Well, they're not paying taxes, and ShopRite gets it for $1. Hey, The old Atlantic City dream. There you have it. There you have it. You know,
Exactly.
the only people that's paying for it is the residents because their taxes keep going up and up and up.
Very
That's
much.
all. So who gets
Very, very,
whatever
very,
they say?
very, very, very much so. And I think that's the ongoing discussion. Um, Highlighting my man Jimmy Whitehead, who also ran for mayor, along myself as an opponent. Him and his friend Derek Brock were very adamant of seeing if they can impose a CBA, community business agreement or arrangement. And one of the elements they were involved in, as far as one they were targeting, was the ShopRite, which is to some extent a helpful thing to be done. It's been always been part of the government. There's always there's a CBA option has always been available through the city. It's just the city itself never put on any teeth. So we'll see how it moves forward and see if that actually gets executed in a way that it should, because there's in each agreement there's a certain ratio for the benefits of the community that need to be adhered to for the project to be fully completed. If not so, then penalties can be had and/or a reverter clause for as far as the property is concerned. So we'll see if that pushes forward, but we'll see. But we'll talk, like I said, ShopRite is an option in this area. There's lots of other operators. One of the discussions that an elder had basically says, why not give the operator that's in place right now at Boom Supermarket, a smaller Latino supermarket, has been successful for at least a decade and a half, if not 2 decades. A successful operator in a smaller venue type deal. Why not give them opportunity to expand? Since they offer so much and they have been for so many years. Why give an operator who doesn't know the community, doesn't come from the community per se, benefit from a program like such? So it's still a dilemma. There's still some discussions need to be had. Um, in my situation, my tenure ends in roughly 35 days, something like that.
Mhm.
Something 35 days, yeah. A little bit over 35 days. My tenure as a councilman ends. And there's a lot of discussion still being had about things that should be expected to transpire in January and happen for this up and coming year. We'll see. But the challenges still continue, man. Challenges still continue. But it is what it is, man. But how was your week, bro? I didn't get a chance to ask you, man. We jumped right into the conversation. How was your
Yeah,
week?
you know, it's all good, man. You know, I enjoy Thanksgiving with family and friends, and that's what it's all about, man.
Okay.
You know, I appreciate it. You know, we've lost a lot of good people along the way just to get to this point.
Yeah.
So every day's got to be a blessing, Mo. I'm telling you. When you get older, you got to take care of yourself even better. So it's
Absolutely.
called maintenance. What
Absolutely.
about you? How did everything go, man? Because I know, you know, you suffer like the losses like I have. You know what I'm saying? So I know
Yeah.
things must have been different.
Yeah. It was like almost there was a lot missing. There was a lot missing. Let's just say it's a lot missing.
Yeah.
So we did what we could. You know, we ate a very well prepared meal over my mother's house, and you know, mom's touch is always on point. And then what we added on really added on to it. So, you know, we'll be eating turkey dinner for the next couple of days. You know, how leftovers is in
Yeah, definitely.
different forms here and there, which is all
Yeah.
good.
You know, you take some of the stuff and you have like a vacuum sealer and you seal it and then just put it inside the freezer, you know, and then,
That's it.
yeah.
I'm famous for that. We was laughing because there's food in my mother-in-law's home that we have from the wake. And immediately when we got it, I put it right in those heavy duty freezer bags and took out as much air as possible. And they're like, yo, put it right in the freezer. Because I know some of those things could not last if it was kept in the refrigerator. I said immediately.
Right.
And my son's like, yo, they think they're going to be good. I said, yo, they're going to be straight. Watch. It's not no oxygen, no air getting in, no
Exactly.
bacteria.
The vacuum sealer is pretty good to have.
Yep. It's good to have. So we're going to break it off as we go along. It's a very good thing. That's the technology I think that we all sleep on. That's probably the most appreciated, a freezer.
Yeah. The freezer and the vacuum sealer, you know, both of them actually
Yep.
work wonders.
Yep. And if you ever thought about it, if you have a vacuum sealer, you now can actually cook sous vide style. It's called the bain marie. Is using water in a warm temperature, not hot, in a very like I'd say about a one between 120 and 140, and you put whatever you want to cook into it for long periods of time. It cooks very slow and very long. It's called bain marie or sous vide style cooking, and
Okay.
using a sealer like that can help you cook that way. And there's so many good things you can infuse meats using the oxygen extractor,
Mm-hmm.
things like this. There's so many different tricks that you can utilize for that stuff. Quick basting, some turkeys and stuff. You can baste a turkey in like 6 hours, what it usually takes marinating, putting it in a brine. It only takes about 6 hours using a device like that than it would 24 hours in any other way. So it's really cool if you have one. So you see it at Walmart all the time. So past the green area, go check
Grab
it
one.
out. Something ahead.
Grab one.
Exactly.
You
So
know, it prevents from wasting food also because a lot of
oh,
food goes bad due to,
mhm,
after it's being cooked, you're looking at the oxygen,
yeah,
air getting into it.
hmm yeah. And one of the things I taught my son earlier. I said when you have fruits, fruits are a very good detection of, I guess, bad energy in the air. If you have a lot of bad moods in the house, the fruit will take it in, and they will die and wilt away a lot faster than they would in a house that's very joyous and wholesome type stuff. So pay attention to your fruits. My son didn't believe it until I proved it to him. I said, okay, bought a watermelon one day, and then we knew he was going to have a tough week, but a lot of stuff is going on. I said, watch how quickly. It's dated and everything should be lasting at least 2.5 weeks without an issue. 4 days later, the rind started to break apart. 4 days later, I said, "Damn, there's a lot of negative negativity around, so we have to be careful."
Never heard about that one before, but hey, if you say so.
Well,
Never
it's
heard of that before, but if you say so, let's roll with it.
yeah, it's new age stuff. It's old school. It's new age stuff, like tribal things that you can, it's like cleaning bad vibes using a whole egg. It's different stuff like this. You might not necessarily believe it or into it. It's just things that have been around for centuries, things to look at. So I
Yeah,
remember things that were
that
told
sounds
to
pretty good, brother. It
me.
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, things that were passed on by my elders. Things that you can
Okay,
look at. So he
so
said,
good.
you know, look at. I was like, that's cool. So
It's no different. Reminds me, like sometimes some people like, hey, very superstitious. Don't walk under a ladder and stuff like that. Well, walking under a ladder is just pure stupidity in my words. Because why would you want to walk under a ladder in the first damn place?
oh yeah,
Doesn't make
logic
sense.
logic
Considering that
supersedes.
the person or whatever is on the ladders could come down on your head.
Yeah, logic supersedes stupidity. Yeah, it does.
That's where I look at it. It says if you step on a crack, you could break your mother's back. Unless you're your mother and stuff. Why would you want to go step on a crack in the first damn place?
I don't
you
know.
know,
Some of those superstitions are
yeah.
stupid to get. The idiotic stuff. You break in a mirror. All this stuff, and I'm like,
Well, the breaking of the mirror, I could experience. I could tell you that happened.
oh, now some things work for you. Okay,
Yeah, that's a personal story, and I'll tell you that some other time.
some things.
Yeah,
Some things are
listen, you have
superstition.
to be observant enough to know exactly when the 7 year is going to happen.
Yeah, right. You put a deposit on the 7 years. Like, yo, do it
Yeah,
only on Tuesdays for the next
see,
7
the thing
years.
about it, it doesn't say when the 7 years start and when the 7 year ends. You just go ahead and figure it out yourself.
Uh huh. That's too funny. That's too funny. Superstitions are, I guess, there's everyone in every culture has a superstition. There's some superstitions that tremble. I was trying to remember because you have reminded me something. I think I told you some months ago. I watched a movie made out of Trinidad, and they were talking about some spirit that was going through the countryside. Is well known, and some of the superstitions involved in that.
It's
And I
called
can't
Elijah
remember
Bless.
which one.
It's called Elijah Bless.
Okay.
That's what it's called. There's one of them is called Elijah Bless, and the other one they call it Souvenir.
Okay.
So that's the craziness that it teaches down in Trinidad. I'm like, look, miss me with that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up in the country in Trinidad,
Right. Right.
so I
Yeah.
know about some of this, this superstition and all this kind of craziness.
It was funny. I mean, you could tell. I guess in some of my schooling, I had anthropology, and the studies that I've had, um, learning about different people in their time. Sometimes knowing your superstitions, you can see how they relate here and there and how things
Mhm.
go. and sometimes superstitions coming solely about power. Like we heard early in Christianity, how using the need for absolvement by going into confess was actually a tool used by the Anglican Church, or at that time the rectory, to basically know what's going on, to control the city and everything that's around, and they would learn that through confess. So guilt was one of the things, the tools that they used. So every culture was different, uh,
Well,
in
in
every arena.
Trinidad,
Superstitions.
in Trinidad, we're notorious for Anglicans because I went to an Anglican school
Yeah.
growing up. Yeah, I didn't go to Catholic school in America. I went to an Anglican school in Trinidad.
Hmm. That's special. That sounds like a good record label.
I told you,
Anglican
man,
school in Trinidad.
my life is like gumbo. You know what I'm saying? I've had so many different experiences I could talk about.
Yeah.
Like unreal.
Yeah, but you know what? It's not uncommon. In the Caribbean, there's so much more. When you have like regular school, there's no such thing as regular school anymore, because most of the schools, most good schools, I would imagine, are faith based. And the
Yeah,
faith-based schools are the primary sources of education for many children throughout all the entire Caribbean and all the
right,
Polynesian states also.
right. Mm-hmm.
Some of it having to do with the fact that the mercenaries that were going around trying to
Right.
change the uncivilized into
Yeah.
civilized had a school system. So, that's the way it went through.
Yeah, you go to Anglican school, and Sunday you go to an Anglican church.
Hmm.
That's how I was raised.
Okay.
And then later on I come to the United States, and then I went to a Catholic church. Never attended any Catholic school. Then I became a Baptist and going to a Baptist church and being on the board of trustees at a Baptist church.
Hmm. Well,
So I've experienced all different types, of religions.
the different sects, right, within.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a wide array of options, and you see this so much, especially nowadays with access and the internet in this way. You see nations all over the world that have been, I guess, affected by and or exposed to faith or religion, and you see their involvement. Just recently, I stumbled onto uh, Family Feud in South Africa, and it's
Yeah.
hilarious. We were dying at some of the things because Steve Harvey is just very shallow in his ways approach. So some of the things he does, he just makes us look bad Americans wise. But you can tell the difference. But one thing that's not different is that dedication to faith over there is extremely hard, very high. Just like a lot of Caribbean nations, their faith is extremely high, and their faith coming Christian based, Christian Judeo faith,
Mm-hmm.
extremely dedicated.
Yeah.
Don't step. You step in the wrong direction. You say something wrong, you get cut up there. I've run into many of people from Jamaica, very very Catholic. That you ain't don't
Very,
mess
yeah.
with them. Other nations, Montserrat, I've run Antigua,
Mm-hmm.
different nations, Puerto Rico, of course. You have other nations that are just very dedicated to being
Yeah,
Christians,
they
very
are.
Catholic.
Very
Um,
much.
you know, and it is what it is. Faith is still very rampant in the greater communities. However, some of the other faiths and religions are accepted and tolerated a lot throughout the Caribbean. Also, like just recently, in the past 2 years, I've discovered like the populations of people who are changing over, converting to Islam, and I was like, wow, it was, kind of, I guess not taken aback, but it was just something new that I didn't know there was so many communities throughout the areas, even in Spanish-speaking countries, that are becoming Muslim, and also Buddhists. There's a lot of Buddhists are
Mm-hmm.
starting to populate throughout the entire world, and I'm like, more and more people need God, and however they find it, cool, that's good. I
That's
wish we
right.
could find a medium to be more godly and less hateful, but it's cool to see the variations, man. I'm into that. I'm into what variations of the world. I respect everybody's own, and
Yeah, you have to, no doubt.
yeah, it's just really cool to see it. Um, Earlier on, I was mentioning some of the. Let me see if I can put the list up. We were talking about certain things, and did you see? Well, like everybody, you saw the case where Kyle Rittenhouse got
Yipper,
exonerated. What
yipper.
one of the things that I wanted to make sure I came across and spoke about was today is that people have to remember what was the precursor to that whole situation that ended up with Rittenhouse going to ended up in court. Jacob Blake was an African American male. Um,
Mhm.
I think he was 30 years old. was shot in the back 7 times by a white officer in Kenosha, and that officer was let go. Basically, nothing, no charge. There was no grand jury hearing for it. He was found guilty. I mean, found innocent of any accusations of killing this man, and that's what basically spurred up this whole Kenosha protest, where Kyle Rittenhouse came from another region of the world, delivered by his mama, fully armed, and ended up killing 2 people and wounding a third. Um, the the case was really sensitive because people were looking at it for the basis of a young Caucasian man facing justice, and America has always seen Caucasian men basically walk away unharmed, unscathed when it comes to justice. And in this case, you saw it again. One of the things that I saw and still being laughed at right now is they talk about how white tears seem to be the solution to all cases when dealing with justice. Well, shortly after that case, you saw the Ahmaud Arbery situation where you had the 3 men who was charged for murder of Ahmaud Arbery and have found guilty. So it sort of leveled the playing field on a national basis. However, the battle still continues. The Arbery case is going to be one that people are going to be talking about also, but I want to make sure that people don't forget what was the precursor to Rittenhouse having to go to court was the injustice being executed on Jacob Blake, shot in the back 7 times by white officers in Kenosha. And then with Ahmaud Arbery, they was basically demonizing him and making him much worse of an individual than most people knew him to be in the court case. If anybody was paying attention to that court case, they spoke about him in really disturbing ways. Like most people in the judicial system as prosecutors are trained to be. And it just goes to show you that justice still has a lot of work to be done on it. Justice is going to require all of us to participate more into it, not just our opinions, but being able to execute a vote, execute our opinions in the political process, placing ourselves in the battle to make sure that everything is aligned perfectly so we can affect change in legislation, affect change in laws, affect change by putting people who are better suited to be judges on the dais, to be judges. So if situations like this come about, we know that there's justice to be had. And if it is for that person to be exonerated, then it was done so diligently, and due diligence was executed to the furthest extent and won't be a question. Where we've seen too often due diligence, like in this Rittenhouse case, you've never seen a judge so calm and collected and welcome to this man being accused of killing others, walking around him, walking behind him, letting them see access to information that would not be accessible to anyone else, speaking to him in a manner that was more amicable and friendly than it is in a regular court session where it was distant. So there's a lot of work to be done. What's your point of view on this? What do you see? What do you take from this? Do you see anything? You take anything from it?
Well, first and foremost, on the beam over on the Supreme Court, it says equal justice under law.
Mm-hmm.
And those words exactly, it's going to take some time for this entire country to get the meaning of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Equal justice under law. Mm-hmm. Because, I've seen many times in many cases where a lot of people just slip and skate right straight on through. And you have to also remember, because Donald Trump made sure that he packed a lot of these courts around the country. Yeah, a lot of people are not looking at that. Mm-hmm. You see, so with a Rittenhouse situation, when the judge is like, hey, we're going to have you pick your alternate jurors. So we're going to put it into this battle. You get to pick, Carl, who do you want to have sit as an alternate? That entire case was stifling. Mm-hmm. That entire case was stifling to me. Right. And that's what's happening. America is not going to really see its glory days until we see equal justice under law. And it's just not happening. Imagine all of the cases if it was, that have not been, like just another perfect case that someone has mentioned was when that young kid had a toy gun and that cop shot him. That was
Yep.
another case right there.
Yep.
When the cop pulled up and he saw a kid with, he had a black and white gun and he just pulled it out and he shot the kid and killed him. A lot of these cases, never see the light of day. A lot of justice still have not been completed. This one guy was let out of the jail recently for a crime they did not commit, but it was based on DNA evidence. Is the only reason why they released him. He's done 40 years in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to find out there are like 11 states, including Pennsylvania, that when you actually do time for a crime that you did not commit, you do not get compensated for that. Very
Right.
few states will actually compensate you.
Right.
So where's the equal justice? Because the majority of the time, it's black and brown people that they've actually had in jail for 30, 40, 50 years. And then when they release them in their 60s and 70s, they don't get compensated whatsoever for all the time that they've done. They've lost their life. This guy says the only thing I want to do is to go pay a visit to my mother's, gravesite and see the ocean.
That's so sad, man. You see that more and more these days than you have in many, many years.
Thank God for two things, Mo: DNA and cameras, because
Yep.
those are the only two things that's working, black and minorities' favor, and getting the truth out many times over.
Mm-hmm.
The DNA evidence when they actually do it, and pray to God that they actually do it right or don't contaminate it like what they've done in Los Angeles when they had everything inside of a room and everything got screwed up. And
It's a trying situation because that's one of the factors that played into the Arbery case. The fact that there was cameras, so many parts of the cameras, but the double-edged sword of this one is that it was cameras involved also in the Rittenhouse case that sort of like aided in freeing him. But it's something that technology needs to be available.
If
We
Carl
need to start really paying attention.
if
Huh?
Carl Rittenhouse was a black individual walking down the street with that assault rifle,
Oh, he
they
wouldn't
would
have
have
gotten
taken him
anywhere.
out.
He wouldn't have gotten as far as he was. Him waving to the officer the way he
They would have taken him down, like a deer in headlight.
immediately.
They would have taken him down, and that's what a lot of people are actually looking at. Where's the justice in that? But what happened is, on a lighter note, the family is now suing the police department because they never actually took proper action with this Carl Rittenhouse situation. So now they're filing, a civil action against the city, and look what happened also, because you had this black guy running from the cops, ran straight through the parade in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, recently. Yep, recently, which is real sad. And that's another area in Kenosha. That's
Exactly right. They were having a parade, and this black guy just drove straight on through and took everybody out.
Was he black? I never saw who it was.
Yeah, he's black. He jumped out of his vehicle, left it somewhere, and then he actually ran to this one guy's house, and who saw him to be white. He's like, "Look, I'm waiting for an Uber, and it's just not coming, so can I wait here for a while?" So then the guy said, "Sure, come on in." And he said, like, "Can I use your phone to call back Uber to find out, because my phone died and it's in my vehicle." So that's what he used. So then the guy went into the kitchen and made this guy a sandwich. And he was holding his phone, and had no idea that this black guy was running from the cops. So the neighbor next door is the one who actually called 911 and says, "There's a situation going on in my neighbor's house, and I think you need to send the cops over." And that's when they found him.
And the guy just made, and it wasn't like it was a deliberate turn to turn into the parade. This guy just did a stupid move, and then basically put himself on death row.
Yeah, he actually was released on $1,000 bond recently.
Mm-hmm.
So now, it's like $5 million bond now.
It's sad. And what's crazy is it's the same vehicle, same type of vehicle. It's a Dodge Charger, the same type of vehicle that they used in Charlottesville when they ran over the African American. Well, actually, no, it's a white woman who was run over.
One girl that was actually protesting. Correct, exactly.
She was run over
too. And that case, I believe that case is also coming up also. It's another one.
Yeah.
And another one is
what's crazy? Speaking about the case, I'm sorry, I know you were going to say something, but I want to make sure I say this. Supreme Court just cleared the fact that there is case law now saying that if it's a race-based concern that took place, something where someone had died, people now have the right to not only sue the individuals that were doing, but the organizations that they support. So if you had individuals like the right wing organizations, the alt right Ku Klux Klan,
Mm-hmm.
people are now able to sue them as an organization and the people and members specifically. And this they're saying that the tides are changing because of that.
Yes,
Because
it
at one
is.
point in time, the organizations were basically scot free, even with the membership.
Correct.
They weren't targeted. Right, exactly. Now it's able to, and it's crazy because, in hindsight, that may have been one of the reasons why the NRA was trying to shift their location, their head location, from where they were to
New
I think
York, New York,
they were from New York.
Correct.
Right, and I think that's one of the things because they had some protections where they were looking to change. Well, later on they find out that they could be held also responsible, financially responsible for some odd reason. If there's a person,
because Letitia James went after them,
yep.
hook, line, and sinker, and she took them out. Exactly, the Attorney General for the state of New York, Letitia James. That's one. Second of all, that particular law is called the KKK law.
Right.
Because this black lady, who I believe, her son, they killed him and stuff, sued these bad boys and won. Mm-hmm. So it's now on the books as precedent. It's called the Ku Klux Klan law. Mm-hmm. So they could go after these organizations.
Yeah, I think it's the tides of justice are swinging around the pendulum. So the idea is now to make sure it leans heavy on the side of justice than it is for favor, because a lot of times people don't recognize that the justice system is not broken. It works exactly how it's intended. But as a pendulum, as it swings where it needs to, you have to ensure that it goes towards justice and less on favor. Favor is those that can afford justice to fall in their favor, so they can use their resources and their monies to influence justice system to fall in their favor. Where justice is, regardless of what financial backings here and there, if the law is being looked at and dissected properly, whatever is cast specifically on that, not on the opportunities and resources and influences. And that's one of the things. Matter of fact, the judge who I think, matter of fact, who just went on, the judge overseeing the Rittenhouse case, has been now charged on a federal case. There's a federal case against him. I just saw recently on something I needed to read more into, and I need to look at it. And I think that's the case. I think the judge in Kenosha who freed Rittenhouse, who decided to free, well, actually it was the jury, not the judge himself, but the judge, right? That judge is actually facing certain criminal charges on a federal level. So we'll see how it goes. I say, judge, this could be another case of karma. So we'll see.
Well, the same thing with the Arboury case. That's the state. It's done and over with. So next week is the federal now. Mm-hmm. Because the feds are going to bring those three guys up on charges under the hate crime law. Mm-hmm. So they're getting ready to be brought up on felony charges. Mm-hmm. So it's not over. And then after that comes the civil, because the family's going to sue the hell out of these guys like crazy and bankrupt the family for many generations to come.
Right. We'll see how it goes. That's always the case, though. You see how the criminal case goes first, and then after that, it'll be the civil case.
Civil, correct.
And if you see it all the way around, with the civil comes before the justice, the civil case goes heavy, and it weighs heavy on the justice too, because sometimes they'll wait. Because we saw in like the case of OJ when he was prosecuted, he won the case of the legal aspect, the criminal case. He won that case, but he lost the civil case. That actually become more of a burden on him in his life.
They go down two different streams. Those things go down two different streams. Yep. I know, because it happened to me. It happened to me when I was in court in reference to cases that I found through the games. Mm-hmm. They're like, did he file a criminal? And they will start with that first. And if no criminal is found, mm-hmm. Then they move it over to the civil. Mm-hmm. Because the criminal holds a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. a lot of weight.
Yep. Like one is designed to imprison you if you have broken the law. The other one is designed to break you
financially.
Financially, exactly. because of the law, or the law enables you to be broken financially, and they're constantly, and it's
they'll detach anything that's that's not glued down to you.
hell yeah. So you got to be very cautious of how you move and navigate in the world today, because people will try to find a way using laws and law. That's why lawyers, and I say this, and I said this on many occasions, as a counsel person, I have to work with, alongside or in front of lots of lawyers, and I always say the same thing: I can't stand lawyers. To me, you're a bunch of snakes, and it's sad because America has weighed so heavily on the need of them that we have the justice system doesn't work on our favor for average people, and that's why I can't stand lawyers. I can't stand, but it's a necessity. And it's sad because if you can't navigate through the judicial system, the legal system,
Correct.
you'll end up raped and thrown to the side and treated worse than a human being could ever be treated.
Like I said, you said you hit the nail on the head. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
Part of the system. If somebody do you wrong, people go get a lawyer.
Right.
That's all it is to that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And shout out to family and friends who are lawyers.
Yeah, I know my cousin.
So it's I got some family members that are and friends that are lawyers, and I respect them highly, and I know they're needed. But it's just the whole the system. It's an ecosystem in itself where the lawyers are part of the parasitic part of justice.
The strange thing about it, because my nephew was just at he was accepted to med school. So down the road, once he graduates from med school, I told him if he has a problem, get in contact with my cousin on the other side.
Right.
My nephew to get in contact with my cousin. He's a lawyer. He could help you out. Since you're dealing with medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So relevant.
Yeah, man. Now to move on to another discussion I know we had before was the Build Back Better bill. There was so much uncertainty as far as the Build Back Better bill, because there's so much discussion being had that we still, at least myself, there was still so much that I did not know. And I was looking, inquiring. So I went to the White House, not physically. I just went to the White House website to see if I can gather more information. And for those who may not be aware, these are some of the points that talked about in the Build Back Better framework. It says offers universal and free preschool for all 3 and 4 year olds.
Mm-hmm.
That was thrown out. There is no free preschool, pre-K. Makes the largest investment in childcare in the nation's history. I think that's still developing. That has to do with health insurance available for children. Affordable, high-quality care for older Americans and people with disabilities. That was thrown out. Republicans were adamant to keeping that out of the system. It says provides 39 million households with up to $3,600 in tax cuts per child. I think that was agreed on, and there's a potential of it increasing for the next cycle. I think they're looking to go 52 to 5,800. I think that's the case, somewhere around there. Climate change, one of the things that AOC was trying to push this part, but they stripped this part down like crazy. Delivers substantial consumer rebates, tax credit to reduce cost of middle class. Tax rebates are still available for solar energy, some other types of stuff like that, but not to the degree that was first proposed on in the Build Back Better plan. It ensures clean energy technology. That there's still elements on that because Congress is seeing that there is a better financial drawback or more payoff with technology being so adamant at building and developing technology, green technology. America has a lot more to win by supporting this, so that's still building momentum. They're saying sustainability accelerator, trying to increase the exactual, trying to promote in companies to be more self-sustaining and delivering 40% of the benefits and investment to disadvantaged communities, meaning like here we have a windmill right next to our city and there's no financial benefit to the city. If this affects that company should have to trickle over to some of its benefits, as in the energy can make it a lot cheaper for Atlantic City residents to actually have energy through them. So that's one of the benefits. Natural solution to climate change. That's an ongoing discussion that Republicans are constantly opposing. It talked about reducing prescription drug costs. We know that that's a major problem here in the United States because we see how Canada and Europe seems to have such low rates in many instances, free drug costs. or drugs to their patients or their citizens. And America still goes through the dilemma of having to, so many times people have had to choose whether drugs or eating food. And I think that's still part of the chopping block that still needs to be talked about. Big Pharma still has a big influence on the Congress because of so many times where Big Pharma pays into the campaigns for a lot of these people to be in office. Um, Strengthens the Affordable Care Act, reduces premiums for 9 million Americans. I think that aspect was shed down to like 2 million. It's not up to 9 million. I think that's the discussion. It's a necessity. We know that the Affordable Care Act was an important value to many Americans, and I think that's still being discussed at this time. But there's still elements to say that because it was shed down to 9 million, still can potentially build momentum in the future. So that's a plus plus on this. They closed the Medicaid coverage gap, leading 4 million uninsured people to gain coverage. That's a necessity because there's so many seniors who need that additional fill in their coverage for them to be able to manage and go through their health costs and their function and maintenance costs, and hoping that they're still there. There's still some elements still missing, but I know they're still willing to discuss, especially since I think is it 89% of all representatives in Congress are all above 70 years old. So they're the ones benefit from the shit. Over 70 years old, and a big percentage, at least 20%, over 80. That's crazy. The most significant efforts to bring down costs and strengthen middle classes, the single largest, most comprehensive investment in affordable housing in history. Affordable housing. They're dumping all these funds, and I think that's going to be a hot topic moving forward. The housing market is different nowadays because there's a lot less money being flooded into the communities. So because there's not money available, people can't buy homes the way it once was. The mortgage crash. I know, Adrian, you are a master at all the things dealing with mortgages and how the tomfoolery that was taking place in the late thousands, where people were buying mortgages and then the mortgage company flipped, and they were doing a lot of people wrong.
Derivatives.
Right. So what's being in place is trying to double back on those mistakes that were made and trying to give people opportunities to being able homeowners. We'll see how that goes on, but I think that's still part of the discussion long term. It's still earned income tax credits. We talked about that with seven. I think that's still continuing, and there's opportunities for that to increase. Affordable education and beyond high school. That was thrown out. The Congress is like, nah, these people who can't afford school, they don't need to go to school. That was thrown out. I remember this because of the arguments that were being had by minority programs in education. Promotes nutrition, security, and support children's health. That's necessary. Our children, that ties in with food resources, FDA, and poverty. All that stuff interlinks the health aspect. So that is a component that's involved in this moving forward. Immigration reform. This is the dangerous one. They talked about investing in immigration reform. We're still trying to wait and see how this is going to develop, but I think this is the dialogue that's necessary. Some of it having to do with the detention centers that are available, who've been used rampantly through the Homeland Security, where people have been housed for excessive amounts of times and children have been separated from their homes. And even the systems to determine who goes directly back home, like they did with the Haitians that were trying to come in, and who were allowed to stay as long as they were, like some of the people coming from the Middle East that were allowed to come into America and basically become Americans faster than it seems like a lot of others did. Strengthens the middle class through historic investments in equity, safety, and fairness. That is a dangerous terminology. It's just historic investment in equity, safety, and fairness. Pay attention to those phrases moving up, because that's the gray areas they talked about. This one, we need to look back because it combines with savings, repealing the Trump administration's rebate rule, which is the framework. 2017 tax cut delivered windfalls to many. And it says no one making under $400,000 will pay a penny more in taxes. That aspect having to do with trying to make sure that those who are financially make more, and this is targeting the 1%. This is trying to see if they can tax them even more than they've been taxed before. Because if you saw, Jeff Bezos made billions of dollars during the pandemic and paid even less money in taxes. So did Tesla. So did a lot of the other super uber wealthy individuals who use the tax loopholes to benefit themselves. It's really disgusting. But you're going to see a lot more discussion involving that because I think it's the equity part is make sure that it becomes equal, not evil, that the tax obligations are equal to all Americans, and it's more so suited so the economy can sustain itself, which is the way capitalism said. Okay, I've said this before. Capitalism requires poverty to being able to see and determine wealth, which is the wildest formula setting, but it's necessary for it to do so in the form of capitalism. This can help sustain and create a stability. We'll see how it moves on. So it talks about the highest income Americans to pay their fair share. Fair is the question. We will see how it goes on. But that was some of the elements that were talked about in Build Back Better. We'll see how this builds back. And again, we're still trying to wait to see how it trickles down into the communities. We're still trying to trickle on how the infrastructure is going to help the rail system, which is necessity. The airports, I'm still hearing people pay exorbitant amounts of money to get a ticket to fly from one town to another town that may be 5-6 states down. So we'll see how it goes on. But I just wanted to touch base on that because that was an open-ended question that we never really got to in the last show. So I was able to find it. But you were going to mention something, or you were talking about the. I saw you get up and it looked like you were going to say something as far as the mortgage issues and things like this, like what to look forward to in your experience, your expertise, your point of view. What are you seeing right now when it comes to the housing market? Do you see? I mean, people are saying how it's a seller's market because of the lack of actual properties, the amount of properties that are needed to make it of a buyer's market type deal. It's a seller's market. I don't know, but with all that being said, I don't see monies being made available through banks for mortgages.
No, right now you're dealing with the fourth quarter. We're in the fourth quarter right now. You're dealing with a surge, as far as this pandemic, is concerned with this virus.
Uh-huh.
Because somebody was asking me the same question today. But they were like thinking, when should they buy a house? I says, right now, a lot of things, the stock market and the Dow Jones and all of that went off the cliff today. I don't know if a lot of people were paying attention because a lot of the investors are not going to invest their money if they know that you're going to be dealing, with this new variant. And that's what scared the hell. It spooked them. All of them on the stock market got spooked today.
Right.
So, and we're still dealing with some of the stuff that Trump put in place. So Biden have to, go back and repeal a lot of these things. So I don't see. And then when you talk about the Build Back Better, a lot of those laws are not going to kick in until next year.
Right. Right. If that, because I heard 2023 is supposed to be the target for a lot of the stuff.
Exactly, for a lot of stuff, correct.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention, something that's 2023 is going to take effect also. Yep. Is that IRS is going to be going after people. As far as if a lot of people were working under the table with Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and making money, whatever the case may be, and it says all part of this Build Back Better law is $600 or more. So if you make $600 or more, PayPal and some of these cash apps going to have to give you a 1099 and some of these forms to turn into IRS. Yep. So that stuff is going to start kicking in 2023.
Yep. That's crazy. I'm just looking over it, and it says you were mentioning how Dow slipped. Dow tumbled 900 points for the rest of the year.
It went up the cliff. Yeah, it erased all of the gains.
Yep. S&P dropped 500.
Yeah,
that's 2%. Yeah,
they got spooked. They got spooked because of this new variant.
Mm-hmm.
So right about now, I want, I tell some people just, it's like musical chairs. Sometimes you get up and you move around. This ain't one of those times. This is the time to sit still.
Now, here's the other thing you were talking about that issue. They're also mentioning how oil dropped 13% in the worst day of 2021. 13% stock. Now, again, for everybody who's paying attention how wealth is, I mean, oil is a commodity. It's very rare at times. And sometimes the prices for oil are set specifically on by speculators. Oil is set up by speculators. People just say, I feel good today is going to be 19 cents or $20 a gallon. And the other day I feel rough. It's going to go 31%. It's all speculators. So if it went down drastically the way it did at 13%, it breaks below 70% as a new COVID issue. Global demand has a concern. America still has huge reserves that can be enabled like Trump did. Matter of fact, no, Obama. Barack had enabled.
That goes back to the 70s with the oil crisis when Carter was in office back then.
Right.
That's when they actually created, the oil reserves. Biden just opened up the oil reserves just this week.
Right.
So he's going to tap in. So OPEC says that they're going to push back.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to actually drop their prices of oil also on the market, since the federal government is going to tap into the Federal Reserve. So oil is going to go down, but at the same time, it's going to create a pricing war, among the oil buyers.
So we'll see how this just trickles on, because usually that shows and that ends up being cheaper gas prices for us Americans. We don't know how this is going to trickle on because it's not always the set. OPEC went through a situation where the last challenge that we had, OPEC raised their prices even more, and it became very difficult in the beginning to pick and choose which one. They actually ended up increasing the price overall.
We don't know how this is
because of their dilemmas. So I'm hoping that this price war could end up becoming a big win for us.
You can put $20 in your car, and it only will get you to half a tank. And at one time, that's $10. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The needle barely moves. So people with SUVs, they're getting killed.
Yeah.
If you have trucks, they're getting murdered.
Yep.
This is trying to park it up.
The super fancy cars that need to have high test, the high octanes, those that need 91.
Thing about it, Mo, many years ago, back in the 80s, I came across a Japanese guy that actually invented an engine that actually runs off of water. Mm-hmm. But that never came to fruition. Mm-mm. Because a lot of the oil companies and the American government, they're addicted to oil. And like that old saying goes, crude is good. So that's what they believe in. Crude is good.
Right. We'll see. Because technology these days are starting to win. Like there's more involvement. There's more electric vehicles. There's already federal guidelines that suggest by 2024 we should be at 100% capacity as far as electric vehicles.
Let me speak on that also, because the electric vehicles was out before. Way before. You can look it up in the computer right now. It was called EV1.
Right.
The EV1 was the very first, electric vehicle until General Motors and all those guys decided to destroy the inventor, and for making that, then they repossessed all of those cars and they took it to a scrapyard and just bang them up. Mm-hmm. Now they're coming back with a lot of the EV electric vehicles. It's been out before. It was back out in the 70s.
Greed has a tendency of doing that. Because we've also had electric turbines. We've had electric rail systems.
Yeah, the maglev. Yeah, the magnetic levitational system. The inventor was a German inventor who lived in America, actually came up with it, and he took it back to Germany and those countries overseas. And those trains are 400 miles an hour, or 200 and something miles an hour.
Right.
Those trains are definitely high speed.
Yeah, but in the beginning, it wasn't a maglev. It was just electric. Like the rail cars that would have trolley cars that would have the electric.
I understand that, but with this particular inventor, because
it
was called there was a show many years ago that I watched faithfully. It was called American Invention, and this guy was on there, and he invented a magnetic levitation with two magnets pushing against each other, creating when he clicked the electricity.
No, absolutely, you're absolutely right. I'm just saying that I was trying to identify that there's a difference between both of them. And the one I was talking about was
the trolley cars, and those bad boys run with the electric, being
electric vehicles, transportation through electric cars.
The railing system.
Right. So it's just a different usage of electricity, but electric cars, vehicles of that sort have been around since the 30s and 20s.
Yeah.
Many years now. So
those are called like rail cars. You see it in San Francisco, like the San Francisco treat, the rail cars going down with the people just jumping on and off. Those are all electric.
Right. and they were also used in mining. They had an electrical system for some of the mining carts that were being pushed because manual labor made it really difficult sometimes to push uphill. So they use the system using electricity sometimes to maneuver those carts of refuge and old rocks and stuff like that move on. So electricity has been around for a long time, but Nikola Tesla was one of the first proponents really to make it 100% electric and being available to the world. There's more and more information starting to develop now, or being afforded to the public a lot more than it was before, about the many uses and how electricity has been around, and there's so much more advantages for electric versus fossil fuel. But of course, when you have wealthy individuals who know what is already exists, because so much has been invested in fossil fuel usage, that they're not going to tap into their gold mine. They're not going to let go of that gold mine for the potential of electricity that will make so much less of a footprint in the world, uh, the whole system of the ecosystem. We're not going to put into it, but we'll see. A lot of other countries will be.
You look at West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
perfect example. West Virginia was notorious for a lot of the coal coming up out of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those towns they've been decimated,
Mm-hmm.
closed down, shut the whole 9 yards. This one guy I was watching Anthony Bourdain in West Virginia, and that was a perfect. I enjoyed that story. And one of the guys on there was saying, as a supervisor working in the mines and stuff, he was making $90,000 a year.
Right.
But today, a lot of those guys are not interested in
Right.
retraining and going back to make solar panels and things like that because it's not going to pay you that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that stuff is generation that these guys work in these businesses in the mining field, and a lot of the
A
rich
lot of
people
those guys not interested in
and
training.
got their money and they got up out of there and just left these people and the towns and the cities abandoned. It's sad.
It is. You see so much of it, and there's still. I see now more of the curiosity of gold and treasure is pushing a lot of people to look into mining. Um, like I know, I've seen the Discovery networks have at least 5 or 6 different shows on different types of miners, and you see a lot more. It's like a growing craze now, where people want to go out and mine to get these rare metals and other gems and stuff like that throughout the world. Like I really wasn't aware of how important opal was to Australians. Opal is huge. It's almost equivalent to what diamonds are here, um, more than it is in Africa, of course.
Remember, the Chinese enjoy opal also.
Or jade. I've
Jade.
seen
Yeah.
jade. I mean, amazing how they
Yeah.
have to go and look for the jade and the grades of jade.
Yeah.
It's amazing of what we are as human beings digging into the earth to try to get out of, or titanium, uranium, mines all over the place, digging into this planet that we love and utilizing it just for the accoutrements. It's the shiny piece that you have on your mantle, or rocking on a ring or a necklace, the kind of stuff that we hold on to. And then there's other things that we use surely for power. Like who would know that uranium, the way it radiates, how much it's being utilized to create power and or destructive power.
That's one of the main reasons why they wanted to get a hold of America wanted to get a hold of was it Afghanistan, because of a lot of the rare minerals within there.
Right.
And that's another reason why China is trying to take over Taiwan.
Yeah.
Because Taiwan is the world's 6th largest market
For rare minerals.
Well, they actually develop a lot of the microchips that goes into the cell phones and the computers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So China's like, hey, they're right off our coast. I believe they belong to us.
Right.
So I may have sent you something like that this week. Whereas the Chinese and stuff are going to be going after America, and that might almost trigger a next world war.
Yeah, that's
That's
it's
very, huh?
It's real interesting how that's always a discussion, because it's China. They know they're the biggest military force on the planet because they have the most human beings in the world.
Of course.
So they, by attrition, naturally, they would see how one would actually be equal to the other. However, the issue with all that stuff is who is going to be an ally and who isn't. That's always been the universal game of chess when it comes to war tactics. Who are the assets? Who are the allies that will be willing to step in to defend and or attack if necessary? So China's issue is worrying about whether Russia will come in on the flank side just to attack China to try to take more, while America is defending.
About that, because the Chinese and the Russians are working together currently.
Right,
that's what's happening right now.
But
because
there's still a threat.
Both of them are communist nations.
But there's still a threat. That's the thing. Nobody trusts Putin.
That's the reason why the United Nations. America is like, hey, we want to keep all of the other allies together with the United Nations, because you never know who's going to really need what country when one attacks.
Yeah.
Because remember, if we go back into history, World War II, that was triggered because of the Japanese were actually attacking the Chinese. And then America stepped in to protect China from the Japanese. And that's why they bombed Pearl Harbor. And that's what happened back then.
Right.
We protected them. But at the same time, they're saying that China would not attack America, even though China developed, like a serious missile that could go around the world the whole 9 yards. But it works for both sides to work together rather than apart as far as the economy, because America owes China a substantial amount of money based on mortgages. The majority of those mortgages and stuff was sold to freaking China and the investors. That's what we've done. That's why, back in the late, 2000 or the early 2000s, a lot of the Chinese was coming into America buying up things like crazy because their money was worth a lot more than the American dollar.
Well, I'm wondering if America would ever have the balls like Nigeria did. Remember how Nigeria just
America, a lot of countries,
China was like, thank you, now you can leave.
The thing about with China, because China and a lot of these countries now look at America after Trump, and it says, what are America going to do? Are they going to really protect you? And that's what they're actually whispering in the air of Taiwan. Right. If China was to attack and take over, because they saw what happened in Hong Kong, when Hong Kong was taken back, it was first owned by the British. The British in 1995 says, hey, look, we're going to turn back over, to China. China like, well, we'll keep it as a democracy. And then it says, hell no, we want it back as communism. And that's when it started cracking down on everything and throwing those people in jail. The Uyghurs are another group of people who are Muslim, Chinese, and they throw them in jail also. So China doesn't play that.
That's a volatile part of the world, because the other regions of the world, like Israel, Palestine, those areas, that's always been volatile, always been in war. But the one in the Southeast Asian Ocean, in that area, the Polynesians, it's active right now, because North Korea has been moving a big Navy movement to try to move on Hong Kong, how to move in that whole Polynesian area, because that whole, and I forget exactly there's a terminology used. It's a geo positioning. It's a geological positioning site, and I think what it was, I can't remember, but I'll get to it. But it's just, if you see, it's all the military force. The U.S. Navy's there. The Australian military is also there, because they have to protect themselves. You have North Korea trying to act on. China's on the other side, and Japan is still pushing. So it's a lot of activity off this one portion of the world that's going to take place, and everybody's showing their might. And just recently, you saw how a nuclear armament was blown in the water, and I think it was China's nuclear, and they were trying to say, no, this was a mistake being made. It wasn't intended to do that, but it was just showing their force. And they go, India in the background says, you keep doing that. We still have a lot of atomic weapons if necessary. We will blow all you.
A lot of people, that's the sign of a nation and its power. Is nuclear weapons. That's what's going on. That's the reason why America doesn't want Iran to actually develop any type of nuclear missile, because they will become a superpower. They can't have all of these countries around the world. And remember, we bombed Japan, but now Japan is one of our closer enemies than China is. But we bombed Japan to try to stop them from attacking China because they were killing so many Chinese, and now the whole role has been flipped.
But it just goes to show you, it's a bad reputation. United States has a universal on this planet. Our reputation always seems to be coming in as colonizers. When we go in to help someone, we take over, create our own bases. Our economy takes over, and we consume all their resources.
Give them a lot of money. A lot of taxpayers' money have gone to fight wars and take over countries.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of taxpayers' money.
And still to this day, still continues.
Yeah, because now Russia's talking about Crimea. You know, when they're moving in Georgia, you know, so they're actually thinking that another coup is getting ready to go down with the Russians.
Yep.
You know, so that's another hotbed over there also.
Yeah, they're trying to expand because at one point in time, USSR was wide spanning, but when it broke up the different nations, Russia under Putin wants to go in and try to make it as large as it once was. And Crimea is a target because remember they have a plutonium. I think they have plutonium a refinement factory that's pretty big over in Crimea, and that's one of the reasons why they want to take it.
You know, the thing that Russia was broken up with Gorbachev.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's when everything broke up with Russia, and then when Putin, just like Xi is now the prime minister for life. He has a lifetime position like the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
They nominated him to be the prime minister of China, you know, for life. He's a lifer. You know, and as far as Putin is concerned, anybody that runs against him in an election ends up dead.
Hell yeah.
You know, that's not a good start.
So, although the one guy that did last time, he still survived it, but he's never going to be the same.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, they're still trying to take him out. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
They're still trying to take him out. It's no different from South Korea. You know, that guy will kill every member of his family simply because succession. Because after, you know, something goes wrong with him, or if he ends up being crazy, it goes on to his brother, but he killed his brother.
Yeah. I think they're just mad as hell because of the way America influenced K-pop, and all their children right now are so involved in K-pop and American culture. They consume.
They're playing a lot of that pop music in China big time. They crack down on it. You know, that boy band stuff, they cracked down on that. No boy band in China. You know, and they probably did the same thing in Hong Kong also.
Yeah. It's crazy, but the more and more you see how the American influence on the world has been the resentment that people carry forever. Even when a lot of these nations that are secular nations, like the ones that are Muslim, their resentment has to do with the American culture and how it impedes on the life of their citizens, you know, and the same type of hatred has been going on in the Orient. The Orient, there's a lot of people who have really a lot of hate in their hearts for the American culture that's been imposed upon them, has somewhat eliminated or basically eradicated all elements of their own culture.
You know, America tries to do good, but in the process of doing good, it hurts itself. Let's face it. Let's call it for what it is.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I mean, they went into Afghanistan the whole 9 years, and at the end of the day, the Taliban ended up taking it back over. Mm-hmm. You know, you spent all of that money, so many lives and stuff, and it's like, what was it really for?
Right. Did we actually go in there with the best intentions?
Yeah. It doesn't make much sense there.
It doesn't. I tell you what, though, it's still the same thing as if we were actually, if most of us had access, would we go into those parts of the world wholeheartedly to see how the people were? Or we're more comfortable behind the wall of propaganda the way we are? You know, if we had access to go to, who would want to go to, say, Pakistan, or unless you're Pakistani? You don't see it marketed throughout the world as a destination location. You got to go out there.
When you go to another country, you know, and you decide to try to take everything over, you want to make sure that you finish your job. And the majority of the time, America never really finishes its job when they move into a country, and it gives it a bad reputation, period. Yep. They will come in, and a lot of countries are using that as leverage now. Do you really think that Americans going to stick with you like they did at Afghanistan, like they've done to back, Iraq? You know, look at the Americans. They come in and say they're going to help you, and then they turn around and run. Mm-hmm. You know, and ironically enough, I've seen a lot of people with the American flag and said these colors don't run. But then in actuality,
they do.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a good reputation. And I believe that's the reason why Afghanistan fell right back into the hands of the Taliban, because they convinced a lot of those people. Look what they did in Baghdad. Mm-hmm. Look what happened to those guys. It's still hell on earth over there. Mm-hmm. You know, and Colin Powell says, hey, look, there are weapons of mass destruction in there. Let's go in and get it. And to destroy the whole damn country.
Mm.
With the help of George Bush, obviously.
Of course.
Mission accomplished. That's what he said when he stood on that battleship. It wasn't accomplished. It was
No,
nonsense.
I'm waiting for. There is supposed to be a documentary movie, a docudrama, about Muammar Gaddafi, in those end days, what he was trying to do with creating an African government, a unified African bank, and its movement in the universal in the world court to sue America, and sue other countries for their involvement in one, slavery, and then the disenfranchisement of people and their opportunities of being able to make a living throughout the world in their implant, and then him dying some short time after he made those claims all over the place. I'm interested in seeing that, man, because the more and more stories I hear from people coming from that part of the world, the image that he was made here was totally propaganda.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah,
sad.
Muammar Gaddafi, and just like remind me like the Shah of Iran.
Right.
Once he decides to go turn against America, whatever, these guys end up dead.
Yeah.
Because you see what happened is they take the American influence, the money and stuff, and then they start living it up. Look at the same thing happened to the Prime Minister of Iraq.
Uh-huh.
No different. You start turning around, bam, you're out of here.
Well, you know what? America has a tendency of making its future enemies. It's made future enemies all over the world. From Iraq and Iran, by giving Iraq all the tools it needs to fight Iran, hopefully they would end up becoming an enemy. And then later on, a decade later, they are fighting against the United States. And now, we create these enemies that we seem to have because we execute these things like the Iran Contra scale. The Contras being involved in from Central America and all the hatred that was going to involve the drug paraphernalia going back and forth.
And that's the reason why those people are at your border today, because of those wars. The gangs are taking over down there. The same thing is happening now in Haiti.
Yep.
The government fell. The United States went inside of there to try to take, try to get back some of the hostages and stuff here and there. The gangs are running the country.
Right. And in the resources, like I didn't know that Haiti was probably the world's largest. I think it's emeralds. It's some resource that Haiti is the largest provider of the world that most people would not know, with such economic binds that it has. And again, if people are not recognizing, the only reason the Haitian government is so poor is because they were forced to buy back their liberty, their freedom from France. They were forced to buy back they owe them so much money. France said, okay, we'll let you go, but you owe us this much money because of the way the transitions and because of the hardships we would have by letting you go. This is what we owe you. So this is why France was constantly getting benefits from Haiti, and Haiti has been struggling through poverty. But in the background, you're not paying attention how people like Sean Penn that went in there trying to help out during the hurricanes and during the earthquakes and so on and so forth. He was there to try to help out, but it also seems like he was also there and interested in looking at the mines that were available because they were mining out a lot of the precious gems that were being available, and they were trying to see some of the things. So we'll see how it goes on because Haiti's still very temperamental.
Yeah.
In a disposition right now where there's a lot of transition taking place. Hopefully, they won't be treated like prostitutes the way this part of the world has treated the wonderful country of Haiti and that island of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, the island of Hispaniola, how that has been treated so badly universally. We'll see how it goes, but there's a lot more truth behind it. Like the stories, the devil's in the details. There's so many more details that are not being shared with the world, and it's a shame. So, but on a lighter note, man, we just had the holidays, man. Was there anything that first off, what's your favorite dish during the holidays, during Thanksgiving? What's your favorite dish?
Good question.
Do you have
Well, like I said, I'm not much of a foodie, so some people have their favorite dish and stuff. I'm not one of those type of individuals. So, I mean, I've people that turkey, all of this kind of stuff. Actually, I'm not a big foodie. Food is food. To me, I've eaten at fancy places, I've eaten at dives. So it doesn't matter to me. I mean, maybe you have a favorite food that you might want to share with us.
You know what? Because I am a foodie, I eat all kinds of stuff. So it's not like one thing or the
See,
other.
I'm the opposite of you. You know what I'm saying? You're a foodie. I'm not a foodie. You know, I'm like, you know,
You're thin. I'm extremely heavy. So yeah,
I'm the opposite of you.
exactly, exactly. But I was talking about this because we're the argument still continues. There seems to be an argument always about who makes the best macaroni and cheese and who this and that. Then when we're talking about hypothetically how in festivities like this, people sometimes want to help by bringing in a plate of food. And sometimes some plate of foods are not necessarily the things that we're looking forward to. Like the infamous raisins in the potato salad quote that you hear so many people talking about. When Karens make the potato salad, which that's code for white
That's
folks.
copy. Oh, okay, that's cool for white person.
Yeah, code for white
But is
person.
it an acronym to something? Well, is it an acronym? I've always been trying to, because I have friends of mine who are white, who know by the name of Karen, and black, who also named Karen. You know what I'm saying? So what the hell is going on with this name? Is what I've been trying to figure out for the longest time. Is
I
it an
don't
acronym to something?
I don't know. I don't know how it came about, and but I
Yeah,
think it's
I
just
mean, if you're going to be saying something, say something that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, it's odd because even there's no such thing as like making sense in America. As we were talking about names, we were talking about something similar to that long ago. You can't go stereotypical with a name anymore because names are being shared by different cultures and different ethnicities. So you really can't identify one. Even the names that sound like Spanish or ethnic may not necessarily be. Like you go down south, and I made examples out. You go close to Tennessee, the bluegrass states where they're so southern, and you'll hear Tawanda. And Tawanda to people up north, Tawanda would sound stereotypically like an African American name. But if
Okay.
you go towards the bluegrass states or into Texas, Tawanda may be a white woman. Or if you go to, you have ambiguous names like Lee, or you have an ambiguous name like Jean or something like that. It may not reflect one ethnicity and or race. It might be just homogeneous. It might be something all the way around. So it's hard to tell. But back to what I was saying before, as far as the meal is concerned, some dishes seem to be what people say, stay away from. I joke around how I have yet to see anybody eat a green bean casserole. I've yet to see that. However, I like green beans. I like cream and mushrooms, and I like the toasted onions that they sometimes put on side. So I'll probably get busy on it because I like green beans. But I've never seen it at a family gathering, even in Christmas, because I think it's more used on Christmas than it is on Thanksgiving. But in a Latino community or Latino family, we don't see turkey as much as we see pork. So but then again, it's the same situation. I'm not a big potato salad person, but I love mashed potatoes. Same shit, same ingredients, same things basically. But you know,
You see, that's just what I'm saying. You need Lavrel on here.
Laurel's
Because
the
food is
foodie,
a
right?
food. Exactly.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? With me, food is food. It's a form of sustenance to actually keep you moving.
yeah. The ladies have a tendency of going a little deep. Even Nikki, I don't know where she been or Gina. Well, but Laurel is definitely the food goddess
Yeah,
here.
the food connoisseur. You know, that's what I'm saying. Give you the whole rundown on the newest restaurants and the whole 9 yards. You know,
Yeah,
me
yeah,
particularly. You know, food is food. That's it. You know, it's either good or bad. There goes the separation.
right.
It's either good or bad. You know.
Well, now that we're at the cusp, or as far as exiting, we're in Leftoverville when it comes to the feast that we ate last night. Um, there was a couple places, well, a couple highlights prior to that I was able to engage in restaurants that I went to, or places to eat that I went to, that I actually got some pretty good food. There's a place out in the Harbor Township, Galloway, called Tailgaters. I've never been to that place until today. Never really wanted to.
Okay.
My family members wanted to at one time engage in this place. I didn't know what it was until I went in there. When I saw it, it was a sports bar with a pretty decent restaurant added to it. And I will say, for anybody who's in Galloway Township, that's the spot. That's pretty good, man. The burger's tasty. I mean, it was bar food, but a little bit better done. They were done a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Personal pan pizzas. My wife she ordered sweet chili. Um, for anybody who's a chili eater in the world, interested in eating chili, you never order sweet chili. Chili's not meant to be sweet. That's why chili is the component. Chili peppers are components to chilies. It's not supposed to be sweet. But anyway,
Sweet chili it is.
taste their role.
Everything goes good when it's sweet.
Yeah, I guess so to certain things, right? And
Yeah.
another shout out again to my boys over, to my man Pop, the owner of Afties in Lang City. They have these things called bites, the fish bites. I think it's fish bites, lobster bites, and something else bites. It's small little portions of it, and it's a very good meal. If you're looking into fish, and you want to eat some fish, you get some fish bites and you get some fries and some pommes frites on the side. It's good, pretty good, nice, not too heavy, not too oily. It's pretty tasty as always. So it's a successful thing if you're interested, and considering it's affordable. It's like $7 for the plate. It's affordable in
What
comparison
is
to a lot
this?
of stuff out there. The AFT, Uptown,
Okay.
AFTY, and they deliver until 3 a.m.
Is that like an African American soul food place? Is that the place? Because I think I saw that
Uh,
on something.
I would think so. Back in the day, it was the store, Charin store, my family store, on what's that? Massachusetts, not Massachusetts. Yeah, Massachusetts. Um, no, I'm sorry, on New Hampshire. No, damn, I'm forgetting my streets. It was the only store in the town, in the inlet at that side of the inlet. Back in the day, it went through renovations, redeveloping. Charin had passed away, God rest his soul. And the property is now taken over by my man Pop, African American man, and they converted the kitchen, renovated the store to have some items just in case you need to buy store items, of course. But their kitchen side does a lot of lobster, lamb, crab, fish, a lot of those things, and then they have burgers and things like this. But their 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 menu's pretty good, and if you're in Atlantic City, they deliver till 3 a.m. It's actually one of the best spots to go to late at night after midnight, as you can get some pretty good quality food there.
Location?
It's off of Oriental Avenue in the inlet. It's right up the street, a block away from the Metropolitan Plaza. So that's Connecticut Avenue. Off of Connecticut and right is 2 blocks down from the ocean.
Okay, heading towards the inlet.
Right, the inlet. 2 blocks from the ocean, off of Oriental. Go down Oriental Avenue. It's on the right on Connecticut Avenue. It's a little store right there, a little corner store. It's actually one of 2 buildings left on that whole strip, and that one is called the AFTI. I still don't know what the hell that means, but because it's uniquely branded, you can't miss it. You can't miss it.
Okay.
So they're pretty good.
I
Seafood and all
was
stuff.
uptown there, and I see one right next to the ocean here, and then there was a little corner store on the side street.
That's the one.
Which
That's
one? The one on the side street?
Yep, right off the side of Connecticut, because the one you see on the right up the street on the strip itself, and that's that was Mike. I think it's the Crocus family. I think that's their last name. The Crocus family still owns that restaurant, because right around the corner is the After. Right around that corner.
I know where you're at now.
Yep. So on that block, on that physical block, it's two
Yes,
eateries.
I still remember when they closed, and now it opened. They were working on remodeling or whatever the case may be inside of there not long ago.
Yep. That's it. After. Pretty good stuff, man. Pretty good food.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, just about every Friday for a long time, every Friday after the show, I would go down there and go get some chicken gizzards.
Wow.
Matter of fact, I'm talking about them now. I might be heading right after we get done and ordering some chicken.
Up there?
Yep, they're that good. It's the old recipe. I'll tell everybody it was the old recipe.
Because I saw something online. This one guy was advertising. It's a soul food restaurant that's probably opened up. I can't remember the name of it. It seemed like his logo had like a black guy with an afro or whatever.
I wonder who that was. I know there's been a lot of activity. There's been a lot of activity by people who really interested, including myself, about starting my own restaurant or food truck or whatever the situation. One was um, a barbecue place that actually has a cart off of the Cedar Market parking lot, and that's my man Chef Sheed, his barbecue stand
Market where? Go to see the
off
market.
of MLK. When you go off of MLK coming in off of the Pike, you're on MLK all the way down off of Arctic Avenue. You have the Cedar Market or the Cedar Store. I don't know if it's called the market, but it's like a supermarket. At the end of the building, you'll see a big yellow sign that says barbecue. Right in front of it is a cart. It is the barbecue pit of Chef Sheed. Chef Sheed does really good barbecue. He's been doing pits and things like this in carts for a long time. Chef Sheed does barbecue there. Um, there's other places that are opening up. There's um, my man Andre Murphy does the communities feeding through his chicken, potatoes and chicken. Murphy's famous chicken and potatoes.
Okay.
And him and another person I know who's been cooking for a long period of time. I'm trying to remember my man's name. He's been doing really well. He had, matter of fact, him and his family had a restaurant, Mays Landing, for a while. They was selling soul food there, and was really popular. It's just the location wasn't as an advantage for him as it could have. But he jumped in, and they're working together. Him and Andre working together, and they're doing something like crazy as far as African American food or African American vendors. But there's a lot of food eateries coming up. Myself, I've been looking into food trucks and or carts, even the potential to see what I can do. Some renting a space into someone's facility who has a kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
not being successful, and see what I can do to take over their
Yeah,
kitchen.
you're a food guy. I mean, that's your avenue.
Yep.
That's your passion. You see, and that's the opposite of me because my passion is business and taking care of stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like my girl, today she's like, Agent, I want you to take back this sweater to Moscow. So I'll take back the sweater, and they're like, oh, well, this, that, and the other thing. So I started calling the shots and telling what I want. It's not what,
Right.
we paid for this. You don't have
Right.
to tell me, I'm telling you now. And at the end of the transaction and everything, I ended up getting the same sweater plus giving her 50% back of her money.
Okay.
So she was pleasantly amazed that she got the same damn sweater that they're going to send to her, totally new and everything, and she gets 50% of her money back.
I don't think she was totally amazed. I think she's aware of what you do and how you do it. That's why she asked you to go to Boston.
And a straight say because I ran into a coworker, she like, Adrian, you haven't changed a bit. You know what I'm saying?
She knew what she was doing. She knew exactly the
Yeah,
person.
she like, she ended up getting half of her money back, and it's sending her a brand new one.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different from this thing right here. It's called Freestyle Libre. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. Freestyle Libre. It's a sensor that goes on to many people. Yeah.
Right.
I got one from my endocrinologist. That was the wrong one. I contacted, I got to receive another one from Walmart. That was the wrong one. And then I receive another one. That one doesn't work. And these things are expensive.
Yeah.
And then only 1 out of 4 boxes actually worked.
Yeah.
So I contacted the company and they started giving me a whole bunch of runaround. Apparently I called someone in Pakistan and may have woke them up.
Oh.
But at the end of the transaction, I told them I'm not going to tolerate it. This is nonsense.
Right.
So eventually I was able to, persuade them to give me exactly what I wanted. And they did. They're like, we'll send all these things back. We'll give you all new ones. Don't worry about it. We got it all. I said, that's the way I like it. Don't play with me.
Yeah. You mentioned that specifically, and my mother's diabetic, and she had to use that same thing. She had gotten sent that or given that opportunity to do that, and she went through a lot of loopholes to be able to get it. And I kept thinking to myself, I said, it's a shame where people have maintenance needs as far as health is concerned to monitor their sugar, glucose levels and stuff, have to go through such dangerous extremes to make sure that they're able to manage their lives. And it's a shame because the industry of medicine is so fragile, but at the same point in time, so fixed with so many charlatans that people are left with the poorest health. Even though when you can financially afford it and you have good health insurance and all, it's still the industry itself sometimes funnel bullshit to people so much that it puts everybody at risk, and it's a shame, man. When you mentioned that, it was a flag boot right up. I remember that.
Exactly. And that's why I say, the game is fixed. The system isn't broke, it's fixed.
Yeah.
And they fixed it, you talk about a big, the Build Back Better bill, but I was watching on CNN, no, I believe it was MSNBC, how someone actually dissected the entire bill, and they said at the end of the day, only the rich some of those companies are going to become billionaires. There's one company, I can't remember, repair roads and stuff. It's going to become $1 billion company eventually.
Exactly.
We're going to take it from like $500,000 that they've made, in a few years to about $1 billion plus, because that's where it's headed, and that's the reason why the United States government is very hard to trust. Because when the Republicans are in there, they put it in their favor. When the Democrats go in, they put it in their favor. And who gets the short end of the straw? The general public.
It's the same example of this dieting on Atlantic Avenue. We had uncovered that it seems to be that this plan was already created to benefit one company, paving company, in this whole demolition process and repaving and stuff. One company. Now, it's always the same old trend that one company's benefiting from this because they had already contributed in a large amount to someone at the state Senate office, state assembly office, or some other elected official someplace else. So because they can't necessarily pay them homage or make sure that they have funds on their side because it's considered pay to play, having the influence over Atlantic City and the puppets in office to be able to do this for them enable them to be able to pay back their hookups. And it's a shame because that's what it is. Government has lost its want and desire to take care of the average people. It still manifests the want and desire to protect the wealthy, to encourage even more wealth for the wealthy. And that's why people who are becoming to wake or are starting to wake up are seeing this and trying to get in that same machine so they can break off a piece in that machine. And people who are in the politics are starting to fold into that machine because they see the benefits of being part of that machine.
It's a money machine, man. Come on, let's call it for what it is.
Oh, it is big time.
It's a money freaking machine. Why is it that public service are making way more money than the average person that they're supposed to be serving? You tell me. There's you're a public servant. Serve the public, but they're like, hey, we have to be paid, exceptionally well if we want to serve the public. It's no different from like the preachers. A lot of the preachers make way more money than the average person in that congregation.
Mm-hmm.
And they came up with a new name over the internet. It's called sheeple. The people who are like sheep.
Oh yeah.
They call them people. Exactly.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
It's disturbing because in a city so small the way it is, you have some individuals that get paid $70,000, if not more, to talk about anti-violence or just solely talking about some aspect of culture. 70,000 or above, and you got some teachers who don't make that. Teachers, educators that don't make that much money. Some teachers that don't make that much money. Some firemen coming in first couple years don't make that much money. EMTs don't make that much money. Some nurses don't make that much money.
Oh, you want me to tell you, you talking about making money? Let me ask you a question. Would you put your life on the line to be a firefighter fighting those forest fires in California and those upper states, the western, upper western states?
Would I?
Yeah. Do you know how much those guys make an hour?
No, I don't.
Those guys put their lives on the line. And I saw it tonight. I says, holy Moses. They make $13 an hour. Those guys that go in there and cut those trees down, put their lives on the line.
Mm-hmm.
They should be making way more than the damn firefighters because they go where no man has gone before.
Yeah.
Into that flame of fire like that.
Forest, yeah.
The federal government actually pay these guys $13 an hour. And what we do? They getting ready to get a raise to $15 an hour. Are you serious?
It's sad.
That is totally sad. They put it. Yeah, those people should be making at least a flipping $100 an hour. Mm-hmm. Because they're putting their damn life on the line. They go there, the heat exhaustion and the trees falling and cutting down the trees and trying to clear it so that the plane could drop the water. And you're making $13 an hour. So they right now the reason why they have a shortage of manpower. No kidding. You think?
Mm-hmm.
You think?
We just had legislation because of the storms and all the stuff that we had the pandemic about danger pay. You have individuals like that who are consistently in danger who don't get paid.
They get paid crap
Yeah.
because the firefighter in Los Angeles makes way more money than the freaking guy that's out there trying to put out a freaking forest fire.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, it's a shame because they're trained in a different atmosphere. Because I've seen a film not long ago with and they were talking specifically about these flame jumpers that would come out of ships or get out of planes and helicopters, jump down, and they'd have to either rappel or skydive into an area. And they would be in the midst of it, and they would be there for hours, if not days, on end in the middle of the fire.
Correct.
Trying to fight off using the resources, sometimes water from the sky, from a lake, using resources, sometimes engulfed by flames, and only protection you have is fire protection. You know, these people are singed at times.
Ain't that much damn thrill in the world, brother. And
Mm-hmm.
that much damn thrill in the world.
Yep.
For $13 an hour.
But even that was said, the Coast Guard do amazing work.
Yes, they do.
It's amazing. Like that position, even though it's a military position, it's part of the U.S. military.
Mm-hmm.
The type of pay and
that's what I heard.
What they get is far less than any other, and they danger. You have to be you're basically dropped in the middle of an ocean to swim to protect someone else's life. A lot of them, like in the Arctic Circle, have to go in water that's sub-zero, and then under torrential rain and rogue waves, and in really dangerous territories.
There was a movie that was made after that stuff. Mm-hmm. There was a movie that was made a few years ago.
The Guardian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, The Guardian. That's the name of the movie. Yeah.
It left an impression on me big time because I wasn't aware, man. I really wasn't aware.
To a hell of a lot, man.
Yeah, and it's one of those type of degrees. You to have to be able to swim under those conditions to save lives. Yep. And we have a Coast Guard base here, off in between, right where the Golden Nugget is. And even though it's not being used regularly, it was supposed to be sold back to Atlantic City or given back to Atlantic City. It was still one of only 2 bases in the United States to hit. Like this one was specifically for the East Coast. Anytime a situation came out of the East Coast, Coast Guard would be sent out from here. In San Diego was the one for the West Coast, San Diego and Alaska. Then you have other areas internationally where the Coast Guards would be involved.
Yeah, but they also have one down in Cape May. That's where the training bases.
Well, I think that's why this base is closing out, because they were shoveling their stuff back over there.
Around the holiday season, a lot of those Coast Guard, a lot of them don't get to go in with their families. Mm-hmm. So the people down in Cape May actually have gotten together and started delivering, presents and food and making them feel at home, because some of those guys come from around the country to Cape May.
And with them, even though they're part of the military, if you look at their rate of pay, they're getting paid like roughly $12 an hour, $13 an hour.
That's
for those that work, 24 hours of work. You have to be shipped out to a certain area under conditions and be there 24 hours during the time, not eating, not sleeping.
Yeah.
There is no danger pay when you place yourself in danger at that level. So that's just those. And then in the coast, in the Mexican Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico, you have specific people that are working on tragic situations with oil and fire. You have people that are specific to that. They're flown into those areas, dropped into the water, have to manage any oil spills that take on, any kind of climate change, any kind of environmental issues. They're the ones dealing with it. Fire come on. We're talking about intense fire because it's nothing but it's endless amounts of oil shooting out of the and they're the ones dealing with it, and still being able to manage as many of the oil rigs that are there and still manage all that stuff. So it's a lot of danger that.
Yeah, but that's not even including a lot of the drug smuggling that's coming up, trying to get into this country. That's trying to stop the flow of, illegal drugs.
Still happening.
I heard there's another one that just, they're protecting it from hitting the marketplace, and it's pretty much stronger than fentanyl.
I believe it. Where people get high, there's always going to be somebody trying to create something to get higher. And that's a thing.
Exactly. They're trying to make it cheaper and, and much more dangerous.
And one thing I have to say is something I've learned just recently is that there's some people out here using fentanyl to lose weight and not necessarily considering the risk that they're putting their lives on using this to lose weight. They're doing it so and it's stripping their body of
Look what happened to Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That killed his ass big time.
Yeah,
Smothered his heart.
Yeah.
Smothered his heart. Same thing. Matter of fact, I think that was Prince too.
Yeah, exactly. Because he went, somebody actually gave it to him and stuff. So that's why they were trying to trace back. He went to, to CVS, one of those places, and then somebody ended up selling it to him, other than, CVS or whatever.
Did it happen or didn't it? That's the question. Is there a conspiracy beyond this? Are they killing our heroes using fentanyl? I don't know.
Everything could be could be a conspiracy if you look at it. To say the truth, some people still think Elvis is alive. I saw him in Vegas. You know what I'm saying?
I'm related to him. I'm related to him.
I saw him dancing on the corner.
Hell yeah, I saw him and his all 15 cousins.
And the flying Elvises.
Oh, that shit is hilarious to me. Every time I head towards Tennessee, I want to see an Elvis impersonator. I need to. It's so entertaining to me how deeply engulfed these individuals are.
About entertaining. I saw this on WBLS when I was online with those guys this past week. Mm-hmm. Because there was one individual that was actually arrested recently. It was a black guy, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He was a member of the Oath Keepers.
Okay.
And they said that he was one of those Michael Jackson impersonators.
Okay.
And one way to actually recognize this guy is because of his jacket, his Michael Jackson jacket. So they saw that he actually, reached the Capitol, the whole 9 yards with a Michael Jackson jacket. They went back and looked at his Facebook page, and they went and scooped him up.
It's like the shaman, easily identified.
Yeah. And we're going to find that he was like a fire chief also. Mm-hmm. He had a high-ranking position.
Yep.
Somebody should have. Now they have to tell him, don't squeeze the shaman. Don't squeeze the shaman,
Exactly.
But they passed around. They scooped that guy up, the feds. So he's gone. They're picking him off one by one. But then, the sentence that they're actually getting sometimes just a slap on the wrist.
That's true.
A lot more.
Well, what's sad to say is that in the white collar crime that's being discussed is not necessarily it, because that's what it is. It's being looked at and treated like white collar crime because it's white people. So they're looking at it a certain type of way. Of course, it's not a rebellion; it's an insurrection. It's not an insurrection; it's just people voicing their opinion loudly how they don't like. It really depends on the dialogue on how it's being depicted.
Like Trump said, they were very nice people just trying. It was a beautiful sunny day. Everybody decided to pay a visit to the Capitol. They were very orderly, and they were walking through the Capitol just trying to pick out certain things. These guys was crapping on the floor and urinating. What are you talking about? Exactly. It was just a nice sunny day when everyone decided. He made it sound like a fairy tale.
It always is a fairy tale in their world. That's why half of those fools, if you look at videos, anything, they were so surprised, they were so shocked and excited at the idea that they never looked at what it really was, what was intended. Like the individuals in the background that were probably plotting, wanted all kinds of war, wanted blood and the whole thing, but never even showed up. They did like Trump did on down the road at a tent. He was, safely blocks away in a tent telling everyone else you need to do this.
Yeah.
It's always that. And you'll always see these field generals who never do shit.
It reminds me of one of those stories, whereas the guys actually, looking at all these people like, come on, let's go take them over. We'll take over everything. We'll conquer these guys. And and everybody's walking and everybody's walking around the guy and he keeps telling everybody to come on. And he will end up being the last guy. And he's like, to hell with that. I ain't going down there. Let him go ahead. I'll miss this one. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's exactly what he's done to these people.
Or it's hilarious I look at it, it's amusing to me because it just demonstrates how we haven't gotten away from the bullshit. Like the entitlement still exists big time. Justice, the lack of justice still exists big time. We can't even, no matter how many times we like to say it, we would be fools to even believe that America has an equal ground where we're all equal in the pursuit of happiness is
That would
easily
not be
afforded.
reality. This country was not founded on that.
Not at
It
all.
was not founded. That's the foundation is what really matters. If you build your, just like God says, a wise man builds his house upon a rock. A foolish man builds his house on sand. And when the waves come in, it washes that house away.
Yep.
This country wasn't built on a rock like that. It was built on sand.
That's why
And
I still
that's
say
the reason why it's eroding, because the foundation is all jacked up. But like this one judge said to me, it's the only one that we know.
I'm still saying to this point, until we actually revisit the Constitution, there's still so many gaps in it that leave us to what we have now. We were able to address it more effectively and make it more extensively, putting teeth where it needs to be, and then putting people in place to make sure that they execute the protections and provisions of the Constitution. Maybe we'd have a chance. Maybe. But it was too vague. When a nation of Americans keep on holding on to one sentence, as in their Second Amendment right, the right to bear arms, that right there, it's only one sentence, and so many people hold on to it like it's a
Hey, Mo,
library of information for them to fall back on because of how
Mo,
you determine, and that's the law. Remember, I told you I don't like lawyers.
it's a right to bear arms until it's a black man holding the gun. You know what I'm saying? Then the whole narrative just changed.
Except for right, exactly. You have a right to bear arms unless you're a black man, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've seen a lot of experiments that people, have a white guy walking down the street with an AR, and then the cops will say, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where did you
Yeah.
get that from?" And they're like all nice and friendly. "Oh, show me a permit." All right, okay, you can do this. Now, when you flip the script, now they're ready to call the whole PD on you.
I see videos all the time on YouTube where some guy gets they have guns on him and the whole nine shown,
Yeah,
and they have interaction with the police, and that guy walks away fine. He tells them and reads them the rights and everything, and the guy all he does, whoever the person is actually testing the knowledge of these police officers, and he shows how they not informed, they really don't know the law, and he's executing the lie he's executing the law to the T, being able to have his freedom the way he is, but them not knowing get tested, and then they walk away looking bad. That's the privilege of being a white person in America, or a white looking person, because there's a lot of people who are Latino who play that code and they're able to benefit and doing similar things. But a black man is not afforded that opportunity. You'll see them elevate the anger in their response. They question him, they continue to question him, even in points where they're stopped by police officers. They're encouraged to extend the time frame of the stop, sometimes encouraging a search when it's illegal to search because they have no probable cause. They ask questions to the person who's driving a car to try to create a probable cause for them to search the car. That justice is enabling a certain group of people to be entitled to the protections. And justice that is not spread out all over the place. It's just not. It's an unfortunate thing.
mm-mm.
But we see it all the time. More and more, I mean, we can pick and choose which station to look at, but we'll see stories like that pop up a lot more frequent nowadays as we're watching. More and more of us are paying attention. YouTube, video cameras, phones all over the place. You're going to see more and more of this, and it's going to take a whole lot more than just a small little offerings that we do to change justice and change society, so it makes it equitable. And equality requires a whole lot more than just talking about it, and that's
Well,
what we have.
remember, government was made by the people for the people,
Mm-hmm.
and the Constitution, like you said, and like I mentioned, on the Supreme Court,
Mm-hmm.
equal justice under law, or is that just us? Justice, just us. You see what I'm saying? Other than everyone,
Absolutely,
and that's what it seems like.
absolutely. It's always just us, and that's what's bad.
Just us, yeah.
supposed to be a pendulum of justice no matter what. Even Lady Justice was an African woman. Symbolism was an African woman holding a pendulum. Actually, I forget what it's called. Anyway, right. Um, but here in America, built off the animosity, the arrogance, and the perpetual hate that has been built off of, justice won't be had in the ways that we could hope for. But it's going to take our effort to do so. It's going to
Well,
take.
the thing about it is also because, like, if a lot of people at one time you were seeing a lot of this reparations, but now you barely hear it. People talking about reparations. I remember this past summer it was pretty heavy topic, very heavy. Now you barely hear anything about reparations.
Yeah.
For a lot of the people and their ancestors that actually have built this country off of slave labor.
I think some of it has to do with the fact that we're distracted, easily distracted. Every time a discussion comes about, something happens. We're distracted, and then it's pushed to the side like there's no importance. Some major discussion about something that's going to impact the infrastructure of America happens. A war or a threat of war seems to always take precedence. It may not ever happen, but you'll always feel a threat, or a bomb was released, or this military sergeant is encroaching on American lives, so on and so forth. It's about distractions.
You spoke about war because remember that song "My War."
Mm-hmm.
This world is a ghetto, and sometimes I think about it. Just think about it in general.
Yeah.
The whole world is like in turmoil right about now.
Mm-hmm.
With COVID and this country wants to fight this country, the whole 9 yards, and people just go about their lives here and there, riding overseas, Brussels closing down some of the countries are closing down because of COVID and
Right.
things on the rise. It's like the world is a flipping ghetto,
Right.
and that's the song that group War made.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just like a ghetto. A lot of infighting for the wrong reasons. And just in case people don't recognize, the word ghetto means a gathering of buildings, impoverished buildings, economic depression, but it's a gathering of buildings. It's not the mentality, but this world is that. It's just depression. It seems like an amalgamation of depression getting ate at more and more.
There's something also because with the vaccine, America gave Canada a substantial amount of vaccines. So now that Canada no longer needs that many vaccines, Biden told Canada, Trudeau and those guys to take that vaccine and pass it over to the third world nations now.
I saw that big shipments.
Yeah.
Shipments.
But now you have another variant, so now it's going to change the game once again.
Omicron, that's crazy.
And like this says, if you hear that it's in Africa, it's here in the United States.
Oh yeah.
It's here. It's here because we have a lot of people from those type, Nigeria and a lot of parts of Africa right here in the States.
A lot of business still transpire between America and African nations, back and forth. So you have a lot of marketplace. You have a lot of business, a lot of
So
merchants.
it goes back again. Here we go. Start back washing your hands. You put the face mask back on. Let's go back, even if you're vaccinated now.
Yep.
Because it's 6 months. That's it.
So yeah, I'm gonna start just wearing the white HVAC systems, the white suits. They're not HVACs. They're medical. What do you call them? Emergency suits. The white suits that people put in Colton. I laughed at one person that had it on earlier in the pandemic. We were at Walmart and this lady came out and she looked like she was really on some other shit. Like she was high as hell because she had a full suit on. She had the mask on. She had an oxygen kit on.
I saw two guys that freaking ShopRite. They were shopping over there, in the summertime, and they were fully loaded.
I'm like, wow, and I'm like, that's taking it, and I applaud them in hindsight for taking that effort to make sure they protect themselves. But to see that in American society is still it raises eyebrow. Like, who's this kook? But they may be the smartest person in the world to protect themselves. So it's the world that it is today, man. But listen, before we go out the rest of the night, man, I wanted to ask you: did you partake in anything Black Friday?
Did I partake in anything Black
Did you go
Friday?
shopping at all?
No, I took that back to Boss Scouts. That's about it.
That's right. You got that same.
That's as good as it gets.
Yeah. Do you
You
ever
know?
partake in it? In Black Friday sales? Do you ever partake in it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I own a store and stuff, and anything, people they come to my store. I
Right.
mean, that was pretty good. I partake from that angle.
Because
You
the way
know, huh?
all I kept thinking was
Yeah, nurture.
Americans love this whole concept of going to get a deal on Black Friday, right? They always look at these deals. And some things are unique to Black Friday, there's no question about that. But the majority of stuff are price fixed. Like they raise the price of these items like weeks in advance. And then they say I'm going to give you a percentage off, which basically targets it to go back to where it was before the price fixing took place, right before. So you're not actually getting a discount, still paying for it the same price. It's just they're telling you you have a discount, but it's not really a discount because of the way the value is.
Hey, leave the people alone. Yeah, if they want to go spend some of that money and boost the economy, hey, I don't mind. I was looking at a friend of mine. She just finished building a website, an e-commerce website. She's like, Adrian, I want you to check it out. Let me know what you think. So very nice, very professional, the whole 9 yards. I really like what I'm looking at.
Uh-huh.
It's called His and Hers, gifts. His and Hers holidaygifts.com.
Okay.
It's for men, women, and kids and all. I'm like, all right, it looks real nice. And I was actually putting my website together. I mentioned this one, because I built one about a week ago, and I was loading on Apple products because I have the capability of getting Apple iPads.
Okay.
And then I'll be working also on Apple those laptop computers.
Cool.
So Apple products. One of my suppliers sells them. And the thing about it is because everybody wants things that's new. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants new, straight out of the box, but that could be pricey. So my supplier buys bulk for a whole lot of things, but this thing might have like a little scratch on the very top. You know what I'm saying? And they have to discount it and get rid of it.
Right.
So they actually sell it to guys like myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we buy it and we just move it on at a cheaper price. So we have everything from the first generation all the way up to the iPad, Pro.
Okay.
So I built a website, e-commerce website, and that's what I've been loading on for the past few days.
It's awesome, man.
When I drop it, people could go there and just purchase, the pad. It'll come to, my location and check over everything, make sure it's all good, beta test it and send it out.
There you go. You heard it here first. You have an Apple product you need to get? Come
Yeah,
get it.
I mean, everybody wants to bite out of the apple. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to bite out of the apple.
Except for me. I'm still holding it. Although, if I ever find a good price, I will buy an iMac. The big one, what's that, a 30-inch screen for desktop printing and publishing. I like some of the work that they do. Those, but all the other shit, nah, sorry. I'd rather not.
Yeah, I mean.
Look, even my son crept out of the kitchen. He was like, yo, he's selling iPhones? Look, see? It's a damn shame.
What was that? He just come up on you just now?
Yeah, he just walked up. He's like, yo, you selling an iPhone? No, man, no. Back up. I swear, these young folks these days don't believe that the world can work without an eye anything. Any Apple product, they got to be locked in. I'm like, nah, man.
Yeah, some people are glued to the Apple, man. I'm serious. My older brother, this other client of mine, she has an Apple. She's like, yeah, I have an Apple, 12
watch,
iPad,
phone,
12,
pad, mini pad, laptop,
clothes.
everything to them. And what's really it's sad because so many people have bought into this concept that now you have things that you can only be exclusive to. Like there's times where I haven't received texts from people who are texting me from an Apple phone because it doesn't communicate the same way. I'm like, what kind of bullshit is this where you create something that it excludes you from everyone else in the world and you can only communicate to their full extent to a person that has the same product that you are? That to me sounds like the premise of what's it called? Monopolization, of being able to monopolize the whole network. And I think that's why they were first hit the first time when they were trying to exclude everyone else. They didn't want to open source their some of their development tools, and they had to because they want to monopolize everything. And that's terrible, man, because even in the form of communication, you should not restrict what you're communicating based on the type of device that you have. It's terrible.
Well, Apple just recently, released a statement saying now they're going to release, you're able to fix Apple products now. So they will send you the kit or whatever, and then like fix it yourself.
Great.
Yeah.
It's helpful for those people who like it. It's helpful.
Well, yeah, exactly. My friend that owns the store, he fixed, iPads and these things, and that's where some of my products are going to end up in his store in Northfield. So when it's delivered, people could actually go to a store location and pick up the product there, and they could actually, and I'll have them tested for them.
Good for you.
So I'll put up the network.
Well, there's so many people who are avid Apple users that you won't run out of the market. You won't run out of customers. That's the one thing. That's for
Exactly. They're loyal to the Apple brand.
Oh yeah, it's a damn shame. It is what it is.
Because it's me, I like Samsung. So I'm not a big Apple. I like Samsung. So, that's what I have, Samsung. When it comes to cars, Altimas and Nissan.
Yeah. Even, there's certain brands that you can rely on dependability, certain brands. But then there's the truth that some brands, although somewhat reliable, they're not worth the money that you have to spend. Because their brand value seems to be a lot more than the actual authentic value.
Yes, iPhone 12, $1,200, $1,300, or whatever the case may be for a cell phone. It's going to do the same damn thing, unless, the cell phone is going to make you breakfast in bed. You can forget about it.
And entry-level Cadillacs now 50, 60 grand for an entry-level Cadillac. Cadillac's not that good of a damn car to be 50, 60 grand. When you get the same value, you get the top value Kia. You got the top value Genesis, Hyundai Genesis. You can get one equivalent to, if not better, with a lot more longevity. So it just depends on what we value. And an Apple product, although at one time was American, it's mostly now imported. Mostly all of the products inside are imported. So it's I don't have, like I said, I like the fact that there's brand availability and there's varieties available all over the world for the different things that we need. And I think that's good for competition, and it's good for the commercial value too, because people can get cheaper prices for this and that and still not be excluded from opportunities here and there. It's when you get that elitist attitude that I think Apple has too often, by only affording their users this, only affording their users that. When technology is one of the things that should be afforded to everyone, as long as you can buy into it, but you shouldn't exclude anybody. So that's why I'm like, I like the different ones. Like I use Samsung because it's probably the best available to me, what I like. However, I know Huawei has a better product. I know what's that T1 out of India has a better product. It's just we don't get those products, so I'm not able to see those products and utilize it. But I know they have a better product. You have automobiles that are far better in China that we probably won't ever see, especially SUVs. But I know they're better products. You have better products all over the world, but given what we have available, and this is what you have is the best, fuck out of here. I
want to change Comcast high-speed internet service and go with the Japanese internet service. Much better.
Imagine that. Yo, we would be so much better. I think they're what? They're 9G? I think that was the discussion. They're at 9G level.
Their high-speed internet service is 7.6 million times faster than the American high-speed. The top tier. One, they could actually download 80,000 movies in a second.
Yep.
Imagine that. That's the kind of high speed I can live with.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody could.
By the time you turn on the computer, you already find exactly what you're looking for.
Shit. There is no shutting down the computer. Everything will be on all the time.
By the time you start it up, by the time you turn the bad boy on, you're there.
You're there, exactly.
You're there, wherever you want to be.
It's amazing. I saw that. I was like, wow, astonished to it. The fact that technology is available to that, but it makes sense. Proximity has a lot of impact on the internet bandwidth. And the way this network is set up here, Xfinity is one of these companies. Comcast is one of these people that have been raping and pillaging the American public by restricting the amount of bandwidth.
Yeah, they will shut you down. They will actually kick you back. A friend of mine was doing just that, and they kept on nailing them every single time around.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you're using too much bandwidth. We have to shut you down. We have to, kick it down. And that's what they will do.
Yep, and that's what sucks, man.
Yeah, you just wait. So everybody's just waiting for something better, man. That's it.
Yeah, that's where
All the
technology
time.
is. Well, listen, we crept up on that final hour that we are. We're at the 1 o'clock point, so I'm gonna give you a chance to say a few words if you'd like to close out the show because I'm plotting on them gizzards.
Boy, you partner, you don't go for a late night run.
Yeah, man, I think I am. I'm gonna give in to that or a
What I'm
turkey
doing that Thanksgiving food, player.
turkey. Yeah, turkey and cheese. I'm probably just do that. I save a couple
Yeah,
hours.
save some gas. Go inside there, you make a nice turkey
I
sandwich,
probably will.
some cheese, some mayo and stuff. You hook it up.
Yeah,
You know,
that's yeah.
save that
Yeah,
money.
yeah. That's exactly what I'll probably do because there's a
Yeah,
lot
because
quicker.
that's what I'm getting ready to do.
'Cause I'm hungry. Yep,
I'm getting ready to do the same thing too.
because I'm hungry. Yeah,
That late night sandwich.
yeah. I'm about to get hooked up in about
Exactly.
2 minutes, 20 to 5 minutes tops. I'm gonna be my head full of leftovers. I'm gonna be good.
It's like say what you want to say. Here goes a short notice. Peace. Let's get it. Let's get it shorter than that.
I heard that. That's the quote of the night.
Exactly. Let's get it shorter than that.
I
Let's not
heard
get
that.
long-winded.
I heard that. Well, in closing, thanks for whoever was able to come on for tonight. I know it's kind of hard because a lot of people are on Black Friday shopping and they're probably sleeping. But if anything is covered here, you're able to see it again at the website at www.thenewnorm.club. It's expertly managed by my brother Adrian, as always. And there's a lot of information available to you there, as well as access to his radio stations that he's done such a fabulous job with and is still available to you. If you'd like to go down and boogie with him, it's there. It's available to you. So that's how the new norm continues going. I appreciate you coming by. We look forward to the next topic and discussions next week, hopefully next Friday. And if we don't see you until then, make sure y'all stay blessed, stay healthy, and make sure y'all stay up on what's going on because there's a lot going on in the world. Don't forget, it's supposed to be cold next week, so y'all prepared. It's either your coat or your shorts, one or the other. There's some odd stuff going on with the meteorology reports.
Okay. Okay. That's the weather you're talking about, correct?
Yes, weather.
Okay. I have an old saying, and I want to make this real good. Do you know the reason why they call it the weather?
Why?
Because they don't give a damn whether you like it or not. That's it.
Wow. We need some drums and a snare.
Yeah, they don't give a damn whether you like it or not. That's why they call it the weather. It doesn't matter. You can't do shit about it.
Ain't that the truth? So on that note, y'all, just take care of yourselves, be blessed, and always test or you make sure you're testing, make sure your vaccine's all together, make sure you test negative and stay positive. So until next time, y'all be blessed.
Right in the